The Budweiser pregame show is brought to you by Budweiser, with the crisp, clean, refreshing taste you'll find in no other beer. This Bud's for you.
What will the Diamondbacks do for an encore? How about sending Randy Johnson to the mound? Former home run king, by the way, still struggling with the knee, so it's up to the Cardinal kids to keep the series from sliding to 0-2. That could be even more painful. Welcome to the Budweiser pregame show for those of you who caught Game 1 between the Braves and the Cards, and of course, those of you who are just joining us for the Cardinals and the Diamondbacks. I'm Jeannie Zalasko along with Kevin Kennedy. The road to the World Series goes through Fox Sports, your exclusive home for the entire postseason. Speaking of home, Curt Schilling looking right at home Tuesday despite an 8-year absence from the postseason, Kevin.
Jeannie, he was absolutely dominant last night, like I thought he might be, with that 95 fastball, his cutter, his splitter. He was outstanding. He only walked one man last night, only threw 101 pitches, 74 for strikes. He expanded the zone. He got the Cardinals to chase a ball a good 5-6 inches outside of the zone. That's exactly the way Schilling pitches. They did not work the count on him. They chased a lot of bad pitches. A 1-0 dominant victory for Curt Schilling last night. Phenomenal.
And speaking of guys who like to dominate, the Yankees and A's have yet to take the field, but technically the game has already begun. The head game, that is. Roger Clemens issued this morning. The A's crowd the plate. He knows what has to be done. And he used the New York press. Think he's a man of his word? How's this for proof? Ask Alex Rodriguez. Game 4 of the 2000 ALCS. Clemens had A-Rod at hello. How about this welcome in the first? Rodriguez was useless after that. So was every other Mariner.
That's Roger.
The fact that everybody comes after us, we know that. We know everybody's shooting for us. That's in a regular season on a Wednesday night game. They're coming after us. So if we're not ready, you can get embarrassed.
This is what motivates Roger Clemens. He challenges himself. He's not supposed to win. He's 38 years old. The Yankees are not supposed to beat the Oakland A's. He's getting himself ready for a big game tonight against a very tough left-hander in Mark Mulder. Roger Clemens is up for the challenge.
And Clemens will indeed get a chance to prove his point tonight on the Fox Network. Game 1 of that ALDS. But first, it's another pitcher with presence. Randy Johnson will try to make it 2-0. Arizona. Strangely enough, that is the very same plan the Braves had earlier today in Houston. Atlanta took a 1-0 lead into Game 2, and it wouldn't be a ball game without the Prez.
That's right, absolutely. Barber's there, too.
Taking in these sights. Andrew Jones at the ground, but it's Julio Lugo who makes the diving stop, and the throw goes all over the place. Lugo's second error of the game leaves the Braves with runners at first and third, and they would score. Bottom 5, Atlanta with the lead. Would it be deja vu all over again? Remember, Brad Ausmus tied the game with a shot on Tuesday, but not quite.
Goes for a long single. Pinch hitter Chris Truby now with one out, first and third. That should be ball 4 right there. Look at that pitch. Chuck Merriweather, the home plate umpire, says no. That's why the Braves get the advantage. A strikeout ensues after that. The Braves go on to win it 1-0.
And take a 2-0 series lead going back home, which is the last place they want to be. The Major League Baseball postseason has just one home, of course. Watch the tourney unfold only on Fox.
Well, the Atlanta Braves, Jeannie, they go up 2-0. The great pitching. You can't count out good pitching in the playoffs and experience. Everybody thought the Houston Astros were going to pound Tommy Glavine and Greg Maddux. Didn't happen. Tommy Glavine got 6 inches off the outside corner. The plate now is 17 inches wide. Chuck Merriweather gave it to him because Glavine established the outside corner. Nobody made an adjustment tonight for the Houston Astros, or today I should say, except for Bagwell. He went opposite field one time, but Glavine was outstanding, and then Smoltz comes in and gets his second save in the playoffs.
And a big disappointment, of course, Sean Berkman not making, Lance Berkman not making much of a point at all.
Exactly right.
Coming up, the Diamondbacks look to add insult to injury today, but we'll explain why it's Randy Johnson that's most offended by the postseason. His opponent, Woody Williams, looking to take advantage. Meantime, it is Johnson's teammate that is feeling the pain of late.
Not bleeding or anything. No cuts. Knocked all the hair off the top of your head, though.
Welcome back to the Budweiser pregame show.
Dominating on the mound, but dismal in the postseason. That's the rap Randy Johnson has inherited. And it's not always fair to judge a pitcher by wins and losses, but when it's Randy Johnson, it is supersized, just like his stature. Big unit is 0-6 since the '95 ALDS, the longest string of postseason losses in baseball history.
That scenario that, you know, I'm not a postseason pitcher. Well, I've had, you know, 2 poorly pitched postseason games. The game here in '99 with the Diamondbacks and a game with Seattle against Baltimore. I've pitched, I believe, a total of 5 games, 6 games, and the other games have been, you know, good enough to win, but, you know, we didn't win.
Randy Johnson's lifetime ERA is 3.19 coming into this season, but in the playoffs, 3.71. But remember, in the playoffs, you're facing good teams and good hitters, and he has not really risen to the occasion so far to beat those good hitters. They've hit some good pitches. Randy Johnson, a fastball, power fastball at 97, 98 miles an hour, and a hard slider, but he has been hit a little bit for him in the playoffs. And in his 6 postseason losses, his ERA is high, almost 4.5. Now, Randy Johnson against the St. Louis Cardinals this year faced them twice. He's 0-2. But remember, it was April the 18th, the last time he saw them. His ERA this year against the Cardinals is over 8. But I think Randy Johnson, with 3 days rest, extra rest, I should say, because he pitched a week ago Tuesday, is going to be prime and ready at his age to throw a fastball 98, 99 miles an hour. Pressure is off of him because Curt Schilling won game 1. I think Randy Johnson comes up today and has a big game tonight in Arizona.
One stat you left out, Randy Johnson gets barely a run and a half support when he pitches in the postseason with that dismal mark. Let's talk about the other guy on the mound.
Got to beat him 1-0 once in a while, by the way.
About 1.5. What about Woody Williams?
Well, Woody Williams is a guy that did a great job when he got traded to the St. Louis Cardinals. A 7-1 record, a curveball, slider, changeup guy, low ERA. Tony La Russa has a lot of confidence in him. Woody Williams has bounced around from Toronto to San Diego. Always one of those potential guys. A guy that's, hey, this guy's got potential to win 20 games. In St. Louis, with the help of Dave Duncan, who gives him a good game plan, Woody Williams has done very well. I expect him to come out and pitch well, but I expect Randy Johnson to pitch better and win this ball game.
And we may need to give Tony La Russa an assist because he's already made Randy Johnson's day a little easier. No strikeout necessary. La Russa sent Mark McGwire to the bench in what he called a manager's decision. But once upon a time, before the bad knee, before exhaustion, Randy did get the better of the big unit, different uniform, different ballpark.
Before a trade, yeah. On June 24th, 1997, Mark McGwire hit this ball well over 560 feet. I know because I was there that night. Mark McGwire, I think his presence needs to be in the lineup. I know he's struggled lately. A couple strikeouts yesterday, 4 strikeouts the last day of the season. Mentally, he's not feeling it. But you know what? He had 29 home runs and 299 at-bats. I'll take that 1 every 10 ratio. I think Mark McGwire, as well as Paquette has done this year in relief of Mark McGwire hitting 282, I think the presence of your big guy needs to be in there if he's healthy. I think Mark McGwire should play today.
Just the difference in the batting average between your replacement and what you need to bring to the team.
It's more presence than anything else. I don't care if Mark McGwire hits 180. It's Mark McGwire in that lineup against their best in the playoffs down 1-0. I'd like to see him in there.
Pitcher's duel, you think we'll get that again today in Arizona?
I think we'll have a well-pitched game. The Arizona Diamondbacks had a phenomenal game yesterday. I think Randy's going to be up for it today. I would expect the St. Louis Cardinals bats to do a little bit better than they did yesterday. I don't know if it's going to be 1-0, but I expect a very well-pitched game by both guys. But again, I think Randy Johnson is going to be up for this because the pressure also is going to be off of him. It's not a must-win situation for Randy this time. He's got a 1-2 punch led by Curt Schilling this time in game 1.
Must-win situation for the Cardinals. Of course,
absolutely.
They've never lost in the first round in this playoff format.
No stops right here for Tony La Russa. He's got to pull everybody out. If Williams gets in trouble early, he's got to go right to his bullpen, which has not been a big strength for the St. Louis Cardinals. But Tony La Russa is a good game manager. He knows what to do in these situations. He's been through it before. His back's been to the wall before against the Atlanta Braves. He came back and beat them in a series a few years ago. I think Tony and his ball club will be ready for it.
All right, that's going to do it for us. But we have a great day of baseball still on tap. Leading up to tonight's shutdown on the Fox Network, Game 1 of the Yankees and the A's, and Roger Clemens' mouth and, of course, his arm.
His arm will be there.
Yeah, the journey continues in the desert where there's a drought, all right. The hits have been hard to come by. Randy Johnson may not help that cause. The road to the World Series continues next on the Fox Networks.
The Division Series on Fox, presented by Budweiser, with the crisp, clean, refreshing taste you'll find in no other beer. This Bud's for you.
Welcome to Bank One Ballpark in downtown Phoenix, Arizona. It's Game 2 of this National League Division Series between the St. Louis Cardinals and the Arizona Diamondbacks. And a pleasant good afternoon to you. Alongside Steve Lyons, I'm Tom Brenneman. Welcome, as always, to playoff baseball here on Fox Family. What an incredible game we had here last night. But all of a sudden, Steve, if you're a St. Louis Cardinal fan, needless to say, a huge concern. You're down 0-1, and here comes Randy Johnson.
Randy Johnson gives me nightmares at night, and I don't even have to face the guy. But Tony La Russa told us earlier today that this is the type of game that his Cardinals have jumped up and won all season long. And we all know that Tony is a percentage-type guy. That's why in today's lineup, Big Mac out of the lineup, J.D. True out of the lineup. That's because he's going with guys that are more contact hitters. And look at the numbers of Miguel Cairo and Eli Marrero against Randy Johnson. We all know that Tony likes to play with those numbers and percentages. These are the guys that are in his lineup today.
Randy Johnson has won back-to-back Cy Young Awards since coming here to the Arizona Diamondbacks. He's won 3 overall. He might win another one this season, and it's very hard to argue that this has been his best season, Steve, at 38 years old.
Hey, if you ask me, he is the Cy Young Award winner for this season as well, with 21 wins, 10-1 in the second half of the season. He's a guy that doesn't just go out and beat you. He's just a two-pitch pitcher, but he dominates the game. And everybody out there right now will point to his postseason record, just 2-6 in the postseason. Even Randy will admit, hey, I got blown out of a couple of those games, but right now I think he's the best he's ever been. He is the best pitcher in baseball, so don't be buying into that 2-6 postseason record.
Cardinal fans, it should be noted, Johnson's lost 6 times, twice to the St. Louis Cardinals this year. Last night, a game for the ages. Matt Morris, terrific in defeat. Schilling, spectacular in victory. And now, in Game 2, Randy Johnson, the most dominant pitcher of this generation, will face the Redbirds when we return. Arizona's taken a field defensively, set for Game 2 of this division series with the St. Louis Cardinals. Tony La Russa managing for the 8th time in the playoffs. Of course, he got Oakland there, and he's gotten St. Louis there for the 3rd time in his 6 years as a Cardinal manager. And a tall order today in facing Randy Johnson. Although this Cardinal team knocked around Johnson his 2nd start of the year to the tune of 11 hits and 9 runs in a little more than 5 innings. Fernando Vina at 2nd, Placido Polanco at 3rd, Edgar Renteria for the first time all year batting 3rd. Albert Pujols at 1st, Jim Edmonds in center, Greg Paquette the nod in right. Miguel Cairo is in left, Eli Marrero catching, Woody Williams. Randy Johnson, 21-6.
21-6, as you mentioned, Tommy. Unbelievable numbers. Look at the ERA under 2.5. The strikeout numbers as good as anybody in the game of baseball. Johnson just a two-pitch pitcher. We know that. Good hard fastball about 98 miles an hour. His slider's about 90. So intimidating with that slider. And the hitters must show a little patience and maybe pick one pitch and sit on it for an entire at-bat, because you can't cover both of them.
Johnson making his 10th career postseason appearance, his 9th start. And he is set to go with Fernando Vina. Johnson seeking his first postseason win since the '95 Division Series, when he knocked off the Yankees twice while with the Mariners. And he starts off Vina with a slider inside, ball 1, and we are underway. Vina, .303 hitter during the regular season, 9 home runs, 56 runs batted in. He was 0 for 4 against Curt Schilling here last night. Lined into left field, Gonzalez has a ball in front of him, and a good start for Fernando Vina and the Cardinals. Arizona, the best defensive team in the National League this season. They'll go with Gonzalez, a Gold Glove winning center fielder Steve Finley, and Reggie Sanders in right. 8 Gold Gloves between the corner infielders, Williams and Grace. Womack and Jay Bell getting the nod at second base. Good career numbers against Woody Williams. Johnson and Damian Miller, the batter. Tony La Russa told us he figures to try and push the envelope, Steve, if they get runners on against Johnson. One batter, one guy on here today.
Randy Johnson doesn't have an excellent move to first base, doesn't have to throw over there very often because in his career there's not many guys standing over there that often, but he gets the ball to home plate in a hurry, and Damian Miller not too bad behind the dish throwing guys out.
Bear in mind, Miller injured his shoulder late in the season, missed a lot of time. That one bunted over the screen and out of play. So early on, La Russa, at least for a pitch anyway, asking Polanco to advance Vigna with a bunt.
I think the strategy all day long for Tony La Russa's Cardinals is going to be to try to push across the type of runs that you can get by bunting guys over, hitting and running a little bit, taking advantage of every little opportunity you have, because you don't figure to score a lot of runs against Randy Johnson.
Last night, the first ever loss in Division Series play, not only for La Russa, but for the St. Louis Cardinals. They had swept their only 2 Division Series, 96 over San Diego, and then last year against Atlanta.
I think one of the keys to look for in Johnson with the 8 days rest in between his last start is location, and not necessarily around the plate, but how high he's throwing the ball. He loves to go up in the zone when he's ahead in the count. He does not want to do that early.
0-2 to Polanco, and the umpiring could be a factor in this one as well, with John Hirschbeck calling the balls and strikes.
Hirschbeck widely has the reputation among umpires that he has a very big strike zone. That should benefit Randy Johnson. Not a bad strike zone, but a very aggressive strike zone back there. Hirschbeck likes guys to come up there and swing the bats, and that's the way it should be.
Slider bounces up there. 1-2 on Polanco. Johnson's slider at times is so devastating that a hitter will start to swing, will carry through with a swing, swing and miss, and the ball will hit him in the stomach. It's happened a couple of times this year, or hit him in the foot.
And so many people would think, well, yeah, that must be great to the left-handed hitters. That must be so tough on them. Forget about that. He loves to throw it down and into the righties.
And again, Johnson keeping an eye on Vigna, who has started the game with a base hit. Kurt Schilling just spectacular here last night, as was Matt Morris. Schilling the complete game, 3-hit shutout.
Clearly the best game that we have seen pitching-wise all season long.
On the ground, this could be 2. Williams, Bell turns it, throw to first, double play. Vigna went it hard to Bell, but Bell, the veteran, able to turn it.
Well, Tommy, you talked about Bell being in the lineup. You certainly don't lose anything defensively with him. Watch Williams, the Gold Glover, sweet little pick, but the throw gets away from him, and watch Bell make the adjustment. Comes across his body, does not panic, even though Vigna's coming in hard, makes the turn, protects himself with the bag. Perfect throw on to first, and then worries about Vigna.
Now Renteria, who had 2 of the Cardinals' 3 hits in a game last night against Schilling. And we mentioned earlier, it's the first time all year long Renteria has batted third in the Cardinal lineup. Slider too low, a ball and a strike.
I think we talk a lot in the postseason how sometimes managers will do things a little differently in the playoffs than they've done all season long. Steve Finley, we talked about the fact that before yesterday only had 6 at-bats in the number 2 hole. He's back in the number 2 hole again, and now Renteria hitting third for the first time all year.
Renteria having to get out of the way.
This one is just a release point. Randy hanging on to that ball a little bit longer than he wanted to. Tried to get it down inside to Renteria, but that's the second time we've seen him so far in the early going throw one too far in off the plate. It isn't necessarily a bad thing for Johnson, because anytime you can keep those hitters on their toes, throwing as hard as he does, it gets scarier and scarier.
That one sails high and away. 3 balls and a strike. And Steve, I think you brought up something that will be very interesting to keep an eye on, not only here in the opening inning, but maybe the first couple of innings. The fact that Johnson has not pitched in 8 days.
When you're 6'10", your mechanics can get off kilter very quickly. It's very tough to stay compact when you're that big.
3-2 now on Renteria. Woody Williams getting geared up for the bottom half of the first inning.
You want to know what it's like to face Randy Johnson? Look out. .
1 Ball 4 way high at 97 miles per hour. So a sluggish start for Johnson. He allowed a single, got the double play ball, and now a walk to Renteria will bring Pujols to the plate.
Watch the replay of Johnson here. Now, he's usually all over the mound, but watch how badly he falls off the mound on this pitch here, falling way off over to the side as that ball sails high. You know, the combination of the 8 days off, the fact that this is a playoff game, and the fact that Randy Johnson is clearly a power pitcher, it might take a few innings, as you mentioned, for him to settle into his rhythm.
Now Pujols, who faced Johnson 7 times this season, had 3 hits against him. He looks at ball 1. Pujols undoubtedly will be voted the National League's Rookie of the Year. 329 batter, 37 home runs, 130 batted in. He may have hit the single hardest ball off Randy Johnson this year. It almost knocked down the center field wall in this ballpark. Fastball upstairs, 2-0. It was in this ballpark where Pujols put himself on the map, if you will. He only got 1 start in Colorado the first 3 games of the season. Then the Cardinals came here. He went 7 for 14, as that's ball 3. He knocked in 8 runs in the 3-game series and has never looked back.
And they were talking about at that point in the season that they might send him back to the minor leagues to make sure that he was playing every day. And then after that series, they said, you can play every day, and you can play every day right here with us.
Well, you know he has a green light, 3-0. And here it comes. He looks at a strike on the outside corner. That doesn't mean he didn't have the green light, just maybe he figured that's something that he couldn't do a lot with.
And he wants to be a little more selective today. I talked to him yesterday. He said he only saw 7 pitches and 4 at-bats. He said, I was worried about the split finger with Schilling. I didn't want to let him get to that point. If he throws me a fastball, I'm happy.
And he had a big hack right there on a fastball up out over the plate. May have swung at ball 4. And now the count is 4.
I think Pujols is going to see another fastball right here. I don't think Randy has enough confidence in the breaking ball in this first inning. I think he's going to try to get out of this inning, make him swing at a fastball.
Hit down the right field line and hit pretty well towards the corner. That ball is gone. Home run. Down the right field line for Pujols, and the Cardinals have taken a 2-0 lead. Tony La Russa told us yesterday, you can miss a pitch and hit a home run down the lines in this ballpark. Pujols was late, but he got enough up.
The rest of this ball field plays very, very big, very fair place. You want to know why Pujols has MVP-type numbers, certainly the Rookie of the Year, is there are very few guys that can take that pitch from Randy Johnson and hit it out of the ballpark. Fastball up and away from Pujols, and he still hammered it.
Now Jim Edmonds, and there's a strike, and what a huge start for St. Louis.
Watch this pitch. That ball's away from Marrero. It's up, generally a pretty tough pitch to get up on top of, and Pujols just stays right on top of it and drives it out of the park. Watch the balance of Pujols. He can draw a line right through him. He stays right there, stays back, lets the ball get back onto him on a ball away from him. And he has a pretty good idea as soon as he hit it that that was going to leave the yard.
0-2 to Jim Edmonds, and a slider away. 1 year ago today, Albert Pujols was playing down the road in front of about 100 people in the Arizona Fall League for the Scottsdale Scorpions. He went 0 for 4 and struck out twice a year ago today. I think this year's been a little bit better for him. Edmonds gone swinging, but Albert Pujols, a 2-run home run off Randy Johnson in the opening inning, and the Cardinals have come out swinging. Bob Brenly's Diamondbacks down 2-0, and here's a look at the Arizona lineup brought to you by Budweiser. Tony Womack leads off at short, Steve Finley in center, Luis Gonzalez in left, Reggie Sanders in right, Mark Grace at first, Matt Williams again at third, Jay Bell the only change at second, with Damian Miller catching, Randy Johnson. Finley, a big part of the equation last night. In fact, knocked in the only run. And on the mound, a 15-game winner, Woody Williams.
Yeah, that 15-game win streak right there, total is a little deceiving. 7-1 since he came over to the Cardinals with an ERA of about 2.28. That pitch right there exemplifies what Woody Williams is going to try to do, stay away from guys mostly with the fastball. His fastball does set up every other pitch he has. He's got to hit his locations. And as La Russa told us, he has a bulldog, everyday player type mentality on the mound. The guy competes like nobody's business.
1-1 to Womack, a .266 batter during the regular season. 3 home runs, 30 batted in. 1 of 3 drew a walk here last night. With the unbalanced schedule, Woody Williams, while pitching for San Diego before coming over in the trade for Ray Lankford, made 4 starts against Arizona this season. So they've seen him a bunch. And over the last 2 years, he has started 9 games against the Diamondbacks. This year, by the way, a 1-2 record with a very fine 3.24 ERA in those 4 starts. Swing and a miss on a good, sharp breaking ball. And Womack gone on strikes.
Well, pretty good start in the first hitter for Williams, but Tony La Russa also told us that the same worry that we had for Randy Johnson not being able to settle down early after the rest, the 8 days off. La Russa said that Williams, with his intensity, sometimes comes into a game and has trouble settling into the game. 1 or 2 innings before he really finds his location. But you wouldn't know that in that first at-bat to Tony Womack. Hit every spot he wanted and then broke off a nasty breaking ball for strike 3.
Now Steve Finley, .275 during the season, 14 home runs, 73 batted in. He takes high, ball 1. We told you Finley knocked in the game's only run last night against Matt Morris.
As we mentioned there, Finley there at the plate. That's a ball out over the middle of the plate. One of the few mistakes that Morris made all day long. He said he was trying to cut that away from him, and it ran back over the plate.
2-0 to Finley, who is hitting his last 5 postseason starts.
Williams has got about 15 pitches. He throws a cutter, a slider, a change. He tries to four-seam a ball, two-seam a pitch. Does a little bit of everything.
Fouled back by Finley, 2-1. Williams' last start. Boy, it's still hotly debated in St. Louis, and you can understand why. Game 1 of that Houston series over the weekend at Busch Stadium. He shut out the Astros, left with a 1-0 lead, and Tony La Russa brought in Jeff Tabaka, the journeyman left-hander, out of the bullpen, replacing Williams. Number off the end of the bat. And Polanco throws out Finley, 2 up, 2 down. Berkman hit the home run. Houston won the game 2-1. Defensively, behind Williams, Cairo, an infielder by trade. Tony La Russa says he plays a good left field. We know Edmonds, good as gold in center, and Craig Paquette, better than average in right. Polanco, Renteria, Vina, and Pujols third to first. Tony La Russa also told us he thinks Pujols' best position is third. Williams and Marrero the batter.
La Russa thinks that Pujols may be a future Gold Glover down at third base. Says he does so many things so well.
Now Luis Gonzalez. He looks at a strike on the inside corner. 57 home runs, 142 runs batted in during the regular year. He hit the ball hard twice in a game here last night, but was 0 for 4 when all was said and done.
I talked to him today, and he said, boy, I was right there. I just missed a couple of those balls. And he said, in fact, the one ball that he hit deep to the wall, thought he got that one that Edmonds caught up against the wall.
Of course, Gonzalez came over 3 years ago from Detroit for Kareem Garcia and Cash. And take a look before Arizona and since Arizona. Fantastic numbers for Luis Gonzalez. He's turned into one of the game's best hitters.
For For Gonzo, it's all about a changed stance. We've talked a lot about that. Opened up his stance, and the key to that stance is his back foot, his left foot, that he points almost straight at the pitcher. He gets a better view of it. He has better plate coverage, and he's much, much stronger.
Just off the corner inside, 3-2 to Gonzalez.
He said Jeff Bagwell was the first guy that said, look, hit the weights a little bit. He said, I'm never a weight guy, but he said, I did that. I went to Detroit. I banged out more than 20 home runs, and I said, hey, there might be something to this.
Broken bat roller to the right side, gobbled up over there by Pujols. He'll feed Williams in a very impressive opening inning for Woody Williams. Johnson and the Diamondbacks trail 2-0.
The Division Series on Fox, presented by Budweiser, is brought to you by the New York Stock Exchange. The world puts its stock in us. By Hyundai, with the freedom of America's best warranty, the Hyundai Advantage is standard equipment. And by From Hell, starring Johnny Depp and Heather Graham, October 19th, only in theaters.
Don't forget, coming up tonight, 8 Eastern, 5 Pacific on Fox, Game 1 of the Division Series. Jason Giambi and the Oakland A's take on Roger Clemens and the Yankees, presented by the New York Stock Exchange. The road to the World Series continues across the Fox networks. Mark Mulder, a 21-game winner, will go against Clemens in Game 1 of that series. I don't think there's any doubt the most anticipated Division Series among the 4 being played.
What a great matchup between those two guys, Clemens and Mulder.
Ball 1 to Craig Paquette. There you get a look at the matchup.
Unbelievable year for Clemens. Mulder coming into his own as the ace of that staff when you got Hudson on that staff as well.
It gives you an idea about the kind of season it's been for Randy Johnson. When people talk about Clemens and how spectacular he has been, Johnson is averaging a run plus less per game than Roger Clemens. A 2.49 ERA, by far the best in the major leagues. Johnson struck out 372 this season in 249 innings. It was 11 short of Nolan Ryan's single season record. Only Ryan threw 76 more innings than Johnson. 1-2 pitch. Outside and low.
And that is a huge, huge difference. You're talking 76 more innings.
And Johnson averages, he broke the all-time record this year in the history of baseball, 13.4 strikeouts per 9 innings. There's strike 3. So you do the math.
That at-bat right there may give Johnson a lot of confidence. He backdoored the slider, and then that's a nasty fastball in on the inside part. John Hirschbeck, as we mentioned, will have a pretty liberal strike zone. That is hitting the glove. Go take a seat, Craig.
Had Johnson thrown 76 more innings, he would have struck out, if you just go by the numbers, 104 more batters than he had this season. That would be zeroing in on 500 strikeouts in a single season. The record's 383. Had he thrown the same number of innings as Nolan Ryan did when he broke the record in 1973. There you get a look. The National League record held by Koufax in well over 300 innings, as was Ryan. Johnson in 249 innings. Oh, and by the way, he's littered all over the top 10. And you're seeing Ryan this inning.
Johnson, as he's walking around the mound now, has got the emotion working for him. This is the slider down and in. That's unhittable. If he throws that pitch for the rest of the day, remember we saw him in the first inning. That's Miguel Cairo told me he had to try to look for a fastball, but once you get to 2 strikes, you're going to see that nasty slider. We did not see that location in the first inning, and that's why, even when we mentioned the Pujols, I didn't think he had the confidence to throw the slider in that situation. He threw it the fastball, and Pujols hit it out of the park.
Now Marrero, who homered earlier this season against Johnson, he looks at a strike on the outside corner. A 2-run home run by Pujols in the opening inning. A 3-2 pitch that was easily ball 4, up and out of the strike zone away from him. There's a bouncing ball foul. It's amazing you preach patience, 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 and the guy hits a ball that was ball 4 out of the stand.
He said these guys got to look for the fastball, even though he throws 97, 98 miles an hour. If he locates that slider, you're not going to hit it. If he makes a mistake with the slider, you might put it in play.
Here's the 0-2 pitch. Popped up. And out of play.
That's a mistake pitch right there for Randy Johnson. He knows that he didn't put that one in the location that he wanted to. If you're the St. Louis Cardinals and you see a mistake, you have to hit it. You have to put it in play somewhere. You're not going to get many of them.
This crowd in stunned disbelief. But Johnson is down 2-0. Here's the 0-2. Fly ball, short right field, easy play for Sanders, and that's out. So Johnson, a solid second inning after giving up the home run in the first. 2-0 Redbirds.
The Division Series on Fox, presented by Budweiser, is brought to you by Energizer. Do you have the bunny inside?
Tommy, here's an illustration of what we're talking about with Johnson trying to get that slider down and in to the right-handed hitters. Watch what Marrero does. He's going to bail this front foot out to try to clear himself to reach that pitch. It's so hard to get to. He's going to bail out a little bit, still doesn't get there, pops that one up into right field. You'll see some right-handed hitters there trying to cheat a little bit, clear that front foot out, and maybe hammer that ball down the left field line. It's the only way you can get to that slider.
Reggie Sanders to lead things off in the Arizona second inning against Woody Williams, who's making his first career postseason appearance today. Swing and a miss on the high fastball, and he'll challenge Sanders with that pitch all night long.
And I think this might be the best matchup that the Arizona Diamondbacks have against Williams, because he doesn't throw that hard. 88 to 90 maximum. It's been said lately, even with the 33 home runs that Sanders had, that he has kind of a slider speed bat. If you don't have your good fastball, he will smoke it.
Good location there on the inside corner, and Sanders having some words with John Hirschbeck. 0-2.
Check out the location of this pitch. Go up there swinging. Everybody knows that Hirschbeck's going to call strikes.
1-2. Sanders will be followed by Mark Grace and then Matt Williams here in the Diamondbacks second inning. Williams with a perfect opening frame. Check swing, and John Hirschbeck said Sanders went around. He's gone on strikes. The second of the game for Woody Williams.
Number 17, Mark Grace.
Well, National League, if you take the bat off your shoulder, it's a swing. That was quite a bit more than taking his bat off the shoulder. There's no question about whether or not he went on that one.
Now Mark Grace, a .298 hitter during the regular season. 15 home runs, 78 knocked in, a breaking ball in the outside corner, a strike. Grace can't believe it, neither can the crowd.
Hitting his corners. Backdoor slider right there.
1-1. Well, it works both ways. I mean,
right.
That is the one thing about this game. The crowd obviously doesn't like it, and the Arizona bench doesn't like it. When Williams gets a call, they love it when Johnson gets the call. Fly ball, left field, slicing towards Cairo. 2 up, 2 down.
Right now you have to be very impressed with what Williams has been able to do as far as hitting his spots. We talked about the fact that he has to locate his pitches because he doesn't throw that hard. He's not Randy Johnson that can blow the ball by you. He's got to finesse you with his array of pitches, and the fact that he does throw some off-speed pitches, it does make that 88-mile-an-hour fastball look a little bit harder. We talked about the fact that he will try to stay away from most guys, but he'll break a lot of bats today because he'll surprise you inside.
Ball 1 to Matt Williams. 275 hitter during the regular season. 16 homers, 65 knocked in. He had a rough night here last night. 0 for 4, struck out twice. Good location on the fastball. It's 1-1 to Williams. It is remarkable the pitching that Woody Williams has done since coming to the Cardinals. I mean, he was a good pitcher in San Diego. He was a good pitcher in Toronto. He has been a great pitcher since coming to the Cardinals. In September, he was 4-0 with an ERA barely over 1. The National League's Pitcher of the Month. The first time it's ever happened to him in his career. He had 2 complete games. He did not have a single complete game the entire year until coming to the Cardinals. He's had 3 in 11 starts since coming over from the Padres.
I think a lot of that credit, even though Williams is definitely talented, has to go to the pitching coach, Dave Duncan, here. He does an outstanding job and has taken guys. A couple of guys from the Diamondback staff would tell you. Stottlemyre may have never been a better pitcher than when he was with Dave Duncan. Andy Bennis, who's back with the Cardinals, but had his greatest success when he was with Dave Duncan and the St. Louis Cardinals.
2-2 to Matt Williams. Breaking ball away. By the way, Andy Bennis not on the Cardinals postseason roster, nor is his brother Alan Bennis.
One of the things that Duncan did with Williams is he said, you might have too many pitches. He says, you hang your curveball too often. Let's teach you a tighter slider, and that's what he's been throwing more often.
And he has walked Matt Williams.
He throws a cutter and a curveball. He said, let's put something in between that thing that spins a little tighter, has a quicker break on it, and you won't hang it quite as often. Been very, very successful throwing the slider. And we've seen it a few times today.
And what did Tony La Russa tell us? He said if there's one guy that will notice the difference, I'm sure, and it's a guy to keep an eye on in the Arizona batting order, it's Jay Bell. Jay Bell has worn out Woody Williams, a .433 hitter, 13 hits and 30 at-bats with 4 home runs. He said, for Jay Bell, this is not the same Woody Williams he's seen in the past. We'll see. Strike 1.
Bob Bremen told us one of the reasons that Jay Bell is in the lineup today is because even though he had not been swinging about all that well in recent times, over the last few at-bats, he's started to heat up again, and he can still turn a fastball around, and Williams will throw the majority of pitches fastballs.
1-1. Bell lost his job on a regular basis at second base to Craig Counsell. Counsell getting the nod in the opening game of the series here last night. Hitless in 4 at-bats, and Bell in there today. The 1-1. Foul out of play down the right field line. Of course, Bell signed as a free agent to a huge contract before the Diamondbacks' first season in 1998, as did Matt Williams. And everybody said, are you kidding me? They're paying those guys that kind of money? Bell had had 3 terrific seasons for this ball club up until this year.
And the money that they were paying him quickly became a bargain.
It was the next season, after their expansion year, is where Jerry Colangelo and his ownership group went out and rocked the baseball world with the signing of Randy Johnson. There you get a look at Jerry Colangelo. Steve Finley was added. Todd Stottlemyre was added. So many other pieces all of a sudden became a team that won 100 games in its second year. It's playing in the playoffs for the second time in the last 3 years.
Bell, after signing that deal for the big money in 1999, went out and blasted 38 homers.
And there's strike 3 called to Bell. 1 man left. We go to the third. 2-0 St. Louis.
The Division Series on Fox, presented by Budweiser, with the crisp, clean, refreshing taste you'll find in no other beer. This Bud's for you.
And for the top half of the third inning, 2-0 St. Louis. All of the talk coming into this postseason, Randy Johnson, how would he fare in yet another playoff appearance? 2 wins against 6 losses in his 4 prior trips to the postseason. We asked him about it yesterday.
I think it's kind of funny. You give up 5 runs in the game and the team scores you 6. Well, it was a gutsy outing. You know, you won the ball game. It was a gutsy outing. Well, I give up 1 run against Kevin Brown, game 1 in Houston, and we lose 1-0. And it was, you know, you can't win a postseason game.
You know, really, it's only 2 bad games that have been played at the numbers for Johnson. You get a look at the 0-6 record. He mentioned game 1 in 1998, pitching for Houston against San Diego. Got beat 2-1. Johnson allowed 2 runs over 8 innings in the game. And then in game 4 of that same series, he allowed 1 run in 6 innings. But his team only scored 1 run. Strike 2 to Woody Williams. And he said that 1 bad game pitching for Seattle against Baltimore in 1997. And then the bad game with Arizona in game 1 of the 1999 division series against the Mets.
Yeah, what is it about some of the great pitchers out there have a history of playing on teams that don't score them run? Randy Johnson throughout his career, Kevin Brown throughout his career, Mike Mussina. A lot of guys go out there that are outstanding pitchers, and just for some reason, through history, their team doesn't score any runs when they pitch.
I mean, everybody thought a few years ago Randy Johnson was the best big game pitcher on the planet. He's only lost 1 time in the last 9 years in the month of September. Swung on and fouled out of play. 24-1 in the month of September. Undefeated again this year. But remember, 95, he won game 3 of that division series against the Yankees. Came back on a day's rest to work in relief of game 5. Went 3 innings, struck out 6. And then in the league championship series, he allowed 1 run in 8 innings and got beat.
Let's not forget that this is Woody Williams up there giving Williams some trouble, fouling off some of those nasty pitchers. .95 hitter on the year, though, but we talked about his everyday player mentality. La Russa told us that Williams wants to take ground balls at third base. He goes out and shag balls out in the outfield. He loves to hit. He loves to pitch. He just shows up at the yard and wants to play.
Well, he's certainly giving Johnson a battle, the 2-2. And a ball well hit into deep left center field. That ball's going to the wall. Finley over to pick it up, and Williams with a leadoff double against Johnson here in the 3rd inning. How about that?
Second baseman, Fernando Villa.
Well, he fouled off a lot of nasty pitches to get to this one. This one, Johnson saying, God, well, I just got to throw it by him right here. He doesn't get it by him. Just hammers this ball to center field. And then, you know, I've talked all year long about most National League pitchers don't even know where they're going. Watch Williams pick up Oquendo. Look over at the third base coach. Tell me what to do. Half the pitchers in the National League don't know where third base is when they get to second base. Williams looking to see if the guy's telling him to keep coming. Love that.
That pitch at 99 miles per hour, and Williams jumped all over it, pulling into left center field. And now Vina, who drops the bunt beautifully. Williams having to pick it up and fire on to Jay Bell for the out there. Give Vina the sacrifice, getting Williams down to 3rd.
That's a great job. And, you know, it seems like an easy job in baseball. They ask you to sacrifice. You just do it. But how many mistakes have we seen made because guys don't know where to bunt the ball? Vina's got to bunt the ball over here to make Williams leave his position to come in and get it so that you advance the runner. A lot of guys will bunt the ball to the wrong side of the infield. Here comes Williams, vacates the spot. Your runner moves up untouched. You do the job.
Now the Arizona infield drawn in for Polanco. He bounced into a double play, hitting a ground ball right at Matt Williams in the opening inning. Polanco is tough to strike out as anybody around. And a pitch on the way. Fly ball into left center field. This will bring in Williams from third. Gonzalez a catch. Williams tags and scores. Picture perfect baseball by the Cardinals. They get a double by the pitcher Williams. They bunt him to third. A fly ball gets him in. The old adage, get him over, get him in. 3-0 St. Louis.
Williams wasn't taking any chances. That fly ball was easily deep enough to score on. Really wasn't even a throw. Williams busting all the way. Takes that long stride. I wasn't sure if he got home plate. He's going to be tired when he goes back out there.
He might. 2 away in the inning. Look at it.
Huffing and puffing. It's all right, though. He's got a 3-run lead. He'll take that any day.
Now Renteria, who walked and scored on the Pujols home run in the opening inning. Fouled off behind the plate. 1-1 to Renteria. So the Cardinals have jumped on Randy Johnson yet again. We mentioned coming into the series, the Cardinals were the only team in the National League that had not lost to either Johnson or Schilling. They didn't face Schilling. They faced Johnson twice and beat him twice. One and two.
You know, in baseball, they don't have those oxygen masks on the sidelines like they do in football, but Williams could use one right now.
Swing and a miss, and that'll end the inning. A leadoff double, however, by the pitcher, Woody Williams. The Cardinals play small ball to get him home from there and lead 3-0. Welcome back to the National League Division Series here on Fox Family. Game 2 in this best of 5 between the St. Louis Cardinals, a wild card entrant to the National League playoffs, against the National League Western Division champion Arizona Diamondbacks. 0-1 high to Damian Miller.
You know, I think something to look for in this inning, since we've seen pinpoint control out of Williams, is after doing all that running and now the huffing and puffing, how good his location will be in this inning. And I think people at home would be sitting there saying, oh, come on, he ran around the bases and he's tired. Well, I'll tell you what, sprint out to your backyard, turn the sprinkler on, come back, make yourself a sandwich as fast as you can, and then watch the game and tell me that you're feeling just as comfortable as you were before you left. No, you're not.
Definitely not. So forget about what Steve just said. Stay where you are. 2-1 to Damian Miller. Swing and a miss. 3-0 St. Louis over Randy Johnson.
The thing that'll benefit Williams the most is that he's pitching to the back half of the order right now.
Still 2-2 to Miller. Matt Morris, what a ball game here last night. That is one of those games where it is the truth, where you say you hate to see one of the guys have to get hung with a loss, because he was that good. One mistake. That's what Morris said after the game. He said, I knew early on that Schilling was on top of his game. He said, and it was going to come down to who made one mistake. He said, I made it on the pitch to Finley, and that's it.
He said that was a weird pitch. He wanted it to sink away from Finley, and for some reason, they kind of cut back out over the plate. Finley shot it right back up the middle for a base hit, and a run scored there. But it doesn't get a whole lot better than that, especially when both pitchers were throwing a lot of breaking balls. Nobody hung up a curveball all day long.
Well, straight back to the screen. It was the first 1-0 complete game victory in postseason play since Jack Morris turned the trick in 10 innings in Game 7 of the 1991 World Series, giving the Twins the title over the Atlanta Braves. Check swing on a pitch in the dirt. They say he went around. Miller was on his way to first. And they appeal to Larry Young. And he says strike 3.
Once again, if you get that bat out there into the strike zone at all, they're going to ring you up. I'm telling you, there is a difference. Now that the umpires are all together, there's no American National League umpires. Larry Young, a former American League umpire, that used to be okay in the American League, not these days.
Strike 1 to Johnson. We remind you, pick up the specially marked Mach 3 pack in stores now and get a free limited edition World Series watch inside. Just go to Mach3.com for details. 0-2 to Johnson, who had 8 hits at 80 at-bats this season. Good breaking ball there, and Johnson gone on 3 straight pitches. Woody Williams has fanned 5. He has more strikeouts than Johnson.
And he's got some pretty sharp break going on the breaking ball right now, and that was the curveball. We talked earlier about the slider that he's used very effectively. Dave Duncan worries about the curveball every once in a while. He says, you know, you do hang that occasionally, but that one sure didn't hang. There is Dave Duncan. Been around with Tony La Russa as long as they've been in the game together, it seems like. A couple of his sons playing minor league baseball now.
Yeah, in fact, both of them went to high school just down the road in Tucson, Arizona, where Dave makes his off-season home. Womack, a ground ball back up through the middle, but Vina's there and throws in time. 1-2-3 in the 3rd inning. It's 3-0 St. Louis with the heart of the order coming up.
The Division Series on Fox, presented by Budweiser, is brought to you by MasterCard. There are some things money can't buy. For everything else, there's MasterCard.
Back on April the 8th, Albert Pujols got a chance to face Randy Johnson up close and personal. He told us about it yesterday.
The first time I faced him, I saw him out there, you know, he's so tall, and I was like, man, he's real close, you know, because it was my first time. But I think that was the only time I feel pressure this year was against him, you know, because everybody, Randy Johnson, I knew he's one of the best in the game, you know, and I was like, man, he throws so hard, he got good stop.
That's all you need to know about Pujols. If that's pressure for him, he's 4 of 8 against Randy Johnson with a home run. And here's a home run in the opening inning today.
So fluid through the hitting zone on that pitch. A ball up and away from him.
0-1 to Pujols, who hit 37 home runs during the regular season.
He just made such great adjustments during the year. Guys tried different things against him.
Base hit.
Nothing worked against it. We always talk about great balance with hitters. Very spread out. As soon as he gets to the point of contact, we do this a lot. Can you draw a line right through his head, through his back leg? That is tremendous balance at point of contact. And look at the hand position. Just another base hit.
5 for 9 now is Pujols in his career. 2 games and 2 at-bats against Randy Johnson. Now Edmonds, who struck out his first time up, found out a play. In Johnson's major league career, he's only allowed 11 home runs to left-handed batters. And you're talking over 12 seasons. Edmonds owns 2 of those home runs, and both came in the same game back in September of '97. Oh, and 2.
That was the number you were talking about before. During the regular season, he's given up 2 home runs to lefties since 1993.
Right. And you're looking at the guy who got them both up until this year. Larry Walker, in the first month of the season, hit a first-inning home run off Johnson.
Since 1993.
And gone swinging is Edmonds.
Now, Edmonds the only lefty in the game. We talked about the fact that he hit home runs right now, but he is struggling. That is not your Edmonds swing. Look at him bailing out of there. It's like his bat's in it, and there's the angle of that fastball. You know, Jimmy's heart's in it, but his rear end wasn't. Boy, I'll tell you what, it was already headed back to the bench. That is not a fun assignment. And I can tell you that from firsthand experience. It is no fun walking up there against Randy Johnson if you're a left-handed hitter.
Now the better Craig Paquette. He looks at a strike. Paquette struck out swinging in the second inning. Johnson has fanned 5, walked 1, but he's allowed 3 runs on 4 hits. Over 47,000 on hand here in downtown Phoenix. And you could hear a pin drop in this place right now. I mean, this town was just electrified after that game here last night. Kurt Schilling, the complete game, 3-hit shutout in the Arizona 1-0 win. And now all of a sudden, right from the get-go, a 2-run home run in the first inning against Randy Johnson by Albert Pujols. And the Diamondback fans on their heels a bit. 1-1. Foul ball. Don't forget, later tonight on Fox, 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 Pacific, the A's and the Yankees lock up in the Bronx.
Hey, talk about the best thing that could possibly happen for the Cardinals in this game is to jump out to an early lead for 2 reasons. Johnson's very emotional. Take a little of the emotion away from him and take the motion out of this crowd.
6th strikeout for Johnson. 2 away in the inning.
Now here's the difference. This is pretty much the same pitch that Pujols hit out of the yard. For Paquette on this one, no chance. There's some determination right there. That's scary when you're at the plate, I'll tell you.
Well, you faced him.
Yes, I did. It wasn't any fun at all. It's such a battle. He takes you out of your own mental preparation when you go to the plate. Your senses are a little heightened because you know who you're facing, but that doesn't do you any good. You need to step back and settle down when you're facing Randy Johnson. Try to do less rather than more. Try to put a good fluid swing on the ball rather than trying to come out of your shoes and jump the yard on a guy like him. Can't do it.
Now Miguel Cairo, who struck out swinging against Johnson back in the second. Strike 1 on the outside corner. And a lot of people who don't see Johnson pitch very often, you just see the highlights, you think he's just a thrower. Where there you get an idea that he's become a pitcher as well. There was a time when Johnson would never start a hitter. A right-handed hitter with a slider on the outside corner. And he busts him with a fastball. And it's into center field to end the inning. 1 hit, 1 left. After 3.5, Williams out-dueling Johnson. 3-0 St. Louis. Nothing St. Louis in front. After 3.5, Woody Williams has not allowed a hit. He has struck out 5, walked only 1. That was the only Arizona Diamondback to reach base. A 2-out walk to Matt Williams in the second inning. So now 2, 3, and 4 in Bob Brenly's batting order. Finley, Gonzalez, Sanders. Grace hoping he'll get a chance to a 4th in the inning. Arizona only had 8 hits here in the game last night. Finley had 3 of them. 2 singles, a double, and of course knocked in the game's only run. 1-1.
All year long, I think that is the fear, especially when Johnson and Schilling go out to the mound, is that they know they have to shut guys down because this team all season long has not scored a lot of runs. Picked it up a little bit later in the season. It would be a good time to continue that on.
Crowd back out of play, and it's 1-2 to Finley.
Much the same as the Cardinals offense, they've never had everybody kind of on fire at the same time. Finley with a real slow start. And then after the break, you see the numbers when he picked it up.
One-two pitch. Down and in, even a count. Bouncing ball right at the first baseman, Pujols. He'll beat Finley to the bag. One away to start the Diamondbacks' fourth inning. So they'll be clean for Luis Gonzalez.
You can look at Gonzalez's numbers by season from 97 to this year and look at how they climbed up from 10 to 57. And talk about when he first went to Detroit and started tinkering with the new stance and a different type of conditioning program where he ate better and lifted a few more weights.
But Gonzalez is not blown up, you know, I mean, as far as being muscle bound.
He's just lean and mean. There's not a whole lot of body fat on that kid.
That one hammered down the right field line, but foul.
Well, you see the stance of Gonzo right now, and it really started taking shape in Detroit when they had the short right field porch. But look at how much wider he is now in 2000. You can see the distance between the feet there. But the swing itself, once you get to point of contact, boy, they look very, very similar. And he said the biggest difference is when he started pointing his left foot at the pitcher more, and it gave him a better view of the pitches. You know, the book on him, Tommy, is still to try to get in on him, try to jam him inside. But I'll tell you what, if you do not get it in there, if you miss out over the plate, he will send one way deep like he did 57 times this year.
2-1 to Gonzalez. That one ripped, but straight back foul. He just missed that pitch. And the thing about Gonzalez, and it's not exaggerated, Steve, I've been fortunate enough to broadcast 14 years now in the major leagues. As good a player as he is 3 times better as a guy.
No question about it. Just a great, I mean, just treats everybody exactly the same.
2-2 pitch. Grounded foul. I mean, he can walk in this ballpark, does walk in this ballpark, whether it's a security guy, an usherette, people that he sees every day. It could be the owner of the team. He treats everybody with respect, everybody with dignity. He's not above anybody just because he's a baseball player who makes a lot of money. Two-two pitch. Foul back out of play. And of course, when you have triplets running around at home, they'll keep that ego in check a little bit. Is his darling right here when they made a growth chart promotional event here in a ball game one night.
The milk promotion. The greatest story is the one where he said he was at the All-Star game. He just finished winning the home run hitting contest. He had to go out for dinner later on with his wife. And he said, you know, hey, honey, I need that shirt ironed. He goes, she said, you iron it.
That's right.
He said, wait a minute, I just want to, I'm a big stud now. She said, you iron it.
Yeah, his wife, Christine, is a dandy. 3-2 to Gonzalez. Strike 3 call. Tony La Russa was saying that John Hirschbeck had a generous strike zone, and he ain't lying.
That's pretty generous right there, but he's been around that area all day long. And the reason why you get that pitch is because of the location that Williams has had all day. It's a Maddox syndrome. You hit that spot, you keep hitting that spot, you're going to get that pitch. You move it out a little bit further as the day goes on, you keep getting that pitch. If you can prove you can hit the spot, you deserve the strike.
Now Reggie Sanders, he looks at a strike. Sanders was very unhappy with a couple of called strikes in his first at bat back in the second inning. Good breaking ball by Williams, and it's quickly 0-2.
I think one of the things that the Diamondbacks lineup is being surprised about is the fact that I think they looked at Williams as a guy who's going to throw like 75 to 80% fastballs, and it's been an outstanding curveball today that we've seen, and a nice little slider that he's used to keep these guys off balance. I think he's throwing many, many more breaking balls than this lineup expected. You talk about a guy that had a great curveball last night, Matt Morris.
Oh, and 2 to Sanders. And off the end of the bat, a base hit into right field. So there's the first Arizona hit of the game. Only the second Diamondbacks base runner. Let's go to Jeannie Velasco.
Well, Tom, at Houston earlier, it was the reinvented John Smoltz at it again. He got the call in the ninth, gave up 1 hit, and then, of course, the final out as Atlanta takes the 2-0 lead in the series. Later on this evening, the most anticipated playoff series, Oakland at the Yankees on the Fox network, Tom.
Jeannie, thank you very much. Boy, Atlanta. Nobody was talking about the Braves when the playoffs began. Getting that great pitching again. Mark Grace takes inside, ball 1. I mean, Woody Williams has been as good as Curt Schilling was here last night. Morris allowed 2 hits, no runs in the first 4 innings. Schilling allowed 1 hit, no runs in the first 4 innings. That one popped up into short right field. Coming on is Paquette, and the inning is over. And through 4 innings, Williams has shut out Arizona on just 1 base hit. Tom Brenneman, Steve Lyons, our entire Fox crew here at Bank One Ballpark in downtown Phoenix, Arizona, where Woody Williams has won the duel with Randy Johnson through the first 4 innings. Obviously a long way to go, and Eli Marrero to begin things in the 5th. Trying to bunt his way on and fouls it back. He's down a strike. Williams has not only done it on the mound, he's done it at the plate. He's coming up next. He had a double off Randy Johnson back in the 3rd inning. A bunt got him to 3rd, and a sac fly got him home.
Marrero with the little attempted bunt right there. Randy Johnson's got a little Bob Gibson in him when you do those kind of things. He doesn't like that stuff too much.
Williams will be followed by the leadoff man, Fernando Vina. Popped up. 3rd base side. Williams tardy to get over there, and Damian Miller able to come over and get it. Fox Family presents Sylvester Stallone in Rocky V. The Italian Stallion knocks us out one more time in the 5th and final round of the Rocky saga. Watch Rocky V Saturday, 8 Eastern, 7 Central on Fox Family.
Yo, Adrian. I'm sorry, I can't do
Pretty
slide.
good.
I can't do slide. It's not that I'm trying that hard to do slide, to tell you the truth. It doesn't come up on an everyday basis.
Well, you don't want to miss that Saturday. And we've got a fight going on here in Phoenix between Johnson and Woody Williams.
And one of the things that should be pointed out today is that the roof is closed here in Arizona with the day game. There's some concern about the shadows that cross the field. They hang around home plate quite a bit. There's Woody Williams on his double to center field, huffing and puffing it. Look at him checking out the sign to see if he could go to 3rd. A lot of running during that inning. It didn't affect him too much on the mound.
This one lined hard into right, but Sanders is there. 2 hard hit balls by Woody Williams. I know you were starting to talk about the shadows there a minute. That's always been a big thing in West Coast baseball. Not necessarily today because it's a day game, but when games are on in prime time in the East and, 5 o'clock in the West.
Right, and the sun starts to set and you get the shadows, but the thinking here is that the shadows might hurt the Diamondbacks offense more than it might the Cardinals offense. You got your big gun, Randy Johnson, going. You take his advantage, but you try to take the offensive advantage by not having any shadows and leaving the roof closed today. Hoping that your offense can swing the bat a little bit better against Williams.
Obviously, here in Arizona, unlike any of the other retractable dome stadiums, maybe with the exception of Enron Field in Houston, they have the dome to keep out the summer heat, rather than, say, the cold, obviously, in Milwaukee, or the rain in other places.
Seattle.
But today is a beautiful day. I mean, from right now until the beginning of June, there is not a better place in the world to spend about 7 or 8 months in the year than Arizona. 2-1 to Venus. Now, those who are here in the summertime will tell you just about anywhere is better.
But it's a dry heat. Come on.
But it's only about 2.5 months that are rough.
Quit crying.
That's exactly right. I'm with you on that. Quit belly aching. 3-1 to Venus. I mean, they're watching back in St. Louis right now, and they're saying it's already 30 degrees here at night.
But they are watching.
Well, you
Talk
better
about
believe
one of the best baseball towns going. St. Louis. Oh, Vina working the count to 3-1. It's tough to walk Fernando Vina 35 times all year as a leadoff guy.
Right at brace, and Johnson's starting to get his act together a little bit.
Needs a little help from that offense.
The Division Series presented by Budweiser is brought to you by the New York Stock Exchange. The world puts its stock in us. And by Nissan. Nissan introduces the totally new V6 Ultima, the cure for the common car.
And for the bottom half of the 5th inning, it's been a masterful performance so far from Woody Williams. 15-9 overall on the season. Was 8-8 when he came over from San Diego for Ray Langford. A trade that occurred after the trade deadline. Nobody paid much attention to it. Now they're paying attention now. Williams has gone 7-1 since joining the Cardinals, and he's twirling a one-hitter through 4 today. Matt Williams, first pitch swinging, tardy on a fastball. He's down 0-1.
Tommy, if you're a Diamondbacks fan, the one thing that you might worry about out there is that even though they're up in this series 1-0 into this, the Diamondbacks have scored 1 run in their last 13 innings.
One and 1 to Williams, who drew a walk against Woody Williams in the 2nd inning. Two and 1.
That's the first time all day that we've seen Williams throw a pitch, fall off the mound that way, and come back and get the ball like, that's the worst pitch I've thrown all day. I better regroup.
2-2 to Matt Williams. Foul out of play. He'll stay right there.
I'm telling you, Matty Williams at the plate for the Diamondbacks right now is really struggling. I mean, that was a pitch right there that normally he would crush. He seems to be fouling off the good pitches that he has to hit. And with the job that Williams is doing on the mound today, you're not getting many mistakes to hit. If you see a good pitch out over the heart of the plate, you better put it in play.
Struck him out on a high fastball. That is a 7th strikeout of the game by Woody Williams.
Let's see the pitch-by-pitch sequence to Williams. First pitch is a pitch that could have been hit. Second pitch away. Now, that ball missed outside, and this is the one that kind of comes right back, and he gets it out over the plate for him that should have been hit. And then he blows him away with one up and away.
Jay Bell, first pitch swinging, chops it foul. He's down a strike.
Williams has been so consistent on the corners today, and that's what we talked about that he have to do with an 88-mile-an-hour fastball. You have to hit your spots or you're going to get hit. He's been excellent.
Whoa, what a breaking ball right there. And it's 0-2. That's a Bell, or the pitch that Bell looked at for strike 3 back in the second inning. Well, Tony La Russa wasn't kidding when we asked him, what's the difference? He said, you'll see it today. The slider more than the curveball from Woody Williams. And the Diamondbacks are getting a look at a very different Woody Williams and the one they saw 4 times as a member with the San Diego Padres this year.
So one of the other things that Dave Duncan did with Williams, too, is he gave him a much better idea of how to pitch guys. I think that Williams may have been floundering a little bit in the other organizations that he played for, and Duncan said, look, here's what this guy can hit, and here's what he can't hit. You have to make the pitches where they can't hit him. Got him to study a little better.
Base hit in the right field. And Williams sort of kicking the grass after giving up that hit. Well, that's a pitch that Bell had to go out of the strike zone to hit the other way.
Yeah, you don't kick yourself after this pitch. That's an excellent pitch. That's a great piece of hitting by Jay Bell. That's a nasty slider off the plate. Williams is mad at himself because he's given up 2 hits all day long. He was mad at the first one, too. That's the competitiveness that he's got. It's like he doesn't want to give up any hits.
Now Damian Miller, he struck out his first time up. Good sharp slider again on the outside corner, and it's 0-1.
Getting to the point where Bob Brumley may think about getting some people going. Miller puts his bat on the ball pretty good. Jay Bell runs all right. Possible hit and run situation. You have the pitcher coming up behind you. You know that you're probably going to have to drop a bunt down in any situation after that anyway, even with 1 out. But Brumley may have to think about starting to do some things with this team to put players in motion to get some offense out of them.
Fastball, perfect location again on the outside corner, and it's 1-2. Well, Chris Spire, the Arizona third base coach, going through the signs with Damian Miller. We'll see if they get anything started with Bell over at first, trailing 3-0 in the 5th. Runner not going, and a breaking ball in the dirt, 2-2.
Damian Miller, the catcher at the plate, can appreciate the job that Marrero does getting over there and blocking that pitch in the dirt. Not too many people in the game notice that kind of stuff except for the opposing team's catcher.
Another breaking ball in the dirt, 3-2.
Or a former catcher who's now a manager. And another former catcher that's on the bench as their bench coach, Bob Melvin. Those guys are the guys that know how tough that play is.
5th full count against an Arizona batter. Runner goes, and it's swung on and fouled back out of play. We'll do it again.
Miller did a great job of just getting a piece of that pitch right there. Williams living away, and then he throws a hard sinker in on the hands. You talked about with his change of speeds, makes that 88-mile-an-hour fastball look like 92, 93, especially when he gets in on you.
Runner goes again, and a fly ball into short right field. Paquette coming over near the line, and he's got it for the second out of the inning. And now it's time to take a look at our multi-award-winning rendition of the MasterCard Fan Cam. That fella came ready. So did he.
He's got a glove.
And a glove. And he doesn't have a seat.
Got a foul ball, though. The old guy's going to try to steal it from him.
Well, he might be bribing that guy, saying, I'll give you the ball for that seat.
He's thinking about it.
Now Randy Johnson will bat with 2 down and Bell at first base. We're in the bottom of the 5th inning and the Cardinals leading. Johnson and the Diamondbacks 3-0. 0-1 to Johnson. One and one.
Williams starts him off with a breaking ball and then throws one as hard as he can throw it. Randy-like. It was a big unit-like fastball. He was basically just saying, I can throw it as hard as you can if I want to.
Good fastball there at the knees. Cardinals trying to get this series to a game apiece, headed back to Busch Stadium. Swung on and fouled back to the screen, and they'll go at it after an off day tomorrow. On Friday in St. Louis, where the Cardinals have been spectacular at home this year. 54-28 on the home front. Miguel Batista. Solid numbers for Arizona against arguably the St. Louis A's, Darryl Kyle.
Darryl Kyle with 16 wins this year, 20 last year. Almost to a man. They'll tell you in the St. Louis dugout that he had a better year this year than he did last year, with less wins.
Well, he certainly had a lower ERA by quite a bit. And Miguel Batista, you know, when people say Schilling and Johnson and then everybody else does not pitch well, nothing could be further from the truth, at least as it pertains to Batista. He has been very, very good. 2-2 pitch. And the inning is over. 1 hit, 1 man left. 2, 3, and 4 coming up in the Cardinals' 6th inning. Pujols got the Cardinals on the board in the opening inning with a 2-run home run. It's 3-0 St. Louis.
The Division Series on Fox, presented by Budweiser. Budweiser, with the crisp, clean, refreshing taste you'll find in no other beer. This Bud's for you.
We remind you, coming up tonight, 8 Eastern, 5 Pacific on Fox, Game 1 of the Division Series in the American League. Giambi and the A's against Clemens and the Yankees, presented by the New York Stock Exchange. That's tonight on Fox, as the road to the World Series continues along the Fox networks. Mark Mulder against Roger Clemens tonight. Today, it's Randy Johnson against Woody Williams in Game 2 of this best of 5. And Williams has been better than Johnson. Polanco 0 for 1, knocked in a run with a sac fly to left field in the 3rd inning. One out of Polanco, and a little flare into right field will fall in, a base hit. So the leadoff man aboard here in the St. Louis 6th inning.
When this series started, we talked about Polanco's ability to go the other way, and that's what he's looking to do. Schilling got inside and jammed him pretty good yesterday. That ball left out over the plate a little bit. Does a nice job of leading with the hands, letting the bat head trail through the strike zone, and just dump the ball into right field for hits. You can do that all day long. A lot of money to be made over there in that right center field gap.
Keep an eye on Polanco, who stole 12 bases during the regular season, was thrown out just 3 times, as Edgar Renteria steps in. Renteria walked and scored in front of the Pujols home run in the opening inning. He struck out against Johnson in the 3rd.
Renteria had so much better second half after Mitchell Page took over as the hitting instructor here. Renteria used to have a pretty pronounced leg kick. We talked about that a little bit yesterday, how he was slower to the ball he couldn't recognize the pitch as much, and so he got rid of that.
Runner goes and a little roller up the third baseline. Williams picks it up, throws it away, and it goes into the stands, which will allow Renteria to go to second base. And on to third goes Polanco.
Well, the thing that you have to be conscious of as a third baseman when you throw the ball sidearm is that the ball tails back into the runner. Grace, one of the best in baseball, of trying to make that play, but this is just way too far inside. Grace can't come off the bag and even make the play. See it one more time from another angle. You see how far up the line that ball is. Grace has no chance of coming off the bag to even make that play.
And now Bob Brenly will come out and visit Randy Johnson on the mound, trying to decide what they want to do. Do you go ahead and put Pujols on and face the left-handed batting Jim Edmonds, whom you struck out twice already? Then you have Paquette after that, whom you struck out twice already. In the bullpen busy for the first time, the 42-year-old right-hander Mike Morgan cranking it up in a hurry.
At this point in the game, I stay with Randy Johnson, hoping that he can figure it out. I mean, he is one of those kind of guys that bears down when guys get on base. He's in a jam right now.
You got to walk this guy, though, don't you?
Load the bases, no question about it. Go back to Edmonds, hope that you either get a strikeout from Edmonds or he puts the ball in play on the ground, you can get a double play.
Well, apparently they're coming after Pujols, who is a perfect 2 for 2 against Johnson in the game. And there's a first pitch fastball, strike one. A huge rookie season for Albert Pujols. National League rookie records in RBIs, total bases, extra base hits. I don't know about you, Steve. I am shocked they're pitching to Pujols with a base open.
Yeah, I don't understand the move here. If you put him on, you have a much better chance of getting multiple outs.
Although now Johnson ahead 0-2.
I think the thing that Bob Brenly is worried about is that if you put him on with nobody out, you really open the door for a floodgate type of inning where with Edmonds, who we've seen him have success against Johnson in the past, but certainly not today. Edmonds looks overmatched today, but if he hits one into the gap and you clear the bases, it's now a 6-0 lead. You could turn out the lights.
Well, the infield drawn in. It's 0-2 to Albert Pujols, and here it comes. And Johnson wanted the call and didn't get it. Came with a fastball on the inside corner. No, says John Hirschfeld.
This ball's off the plate. He runs it in there. Pujols jumping off of it a little bit. You see Miller even having to reach a little bit. That's a ball inside.
Critical moment of the game right here and right now in the 6th inning.
Hard slider down and in. His bread and butter pitch. He's had a little trouble with the release point of that slider. He's left a few of them out over the plate. He's tried to backdoor a few of them to the right-handed hitters. Throw that slider hard and in, down on his back knee, and let Miller do the job of blocking the ball.
And here is the kind of inning where people will look back on Randy Johnson in his postseason starts, and they'll say, well, who cares? You're a big game pitcher. You can't allow things like a broken bat flare into right field by Polanco. Then you get a little roller to the third baseman. Williams throws it away, and all of a sudden, second and third, nobody out.
Do you leave him standing there?
2-2.
He's not missing by much on that. But that's the difference between Randy Johnson today and Randy Johnson the rest of the year. We've seen a pretty good contrast between a guy who has absolute command of the strike zone, Woody Williams today, and Randy Johnson, who's struggling to find it.
2-2 on Albert Pujols. And a check swing. Did he foul it off? I don't think he swung and made contact with the ball. He did not.
He swung at that pitch. The ball hit him in the leg. He's out. That's a swing.
Now the runner Polanco has come in from third base. And Tony La Russa is going to come out and cut off Pujols right away.
That's
so
a great
make sure
job.
he doesn't get in trouble.
Great job by Tony. I thought maybe he was coming out to argue the play. He knows the rule. He swung at that ball. Should be a dead ball. Everyone goes back to their base.
Yep.
hit him right off the back foot. Pujols wants to go to first base saying, I got hit with the ball. Everyone else in the house is saying, you swung at it. Here's the swing. That's that pitch that we talked about earlier in the game that you said you'd seen plenty of times this year where guys will swing at pitches that hit them. Now here comes Polanco to try to score, but it's an automatic dead ball as soon as it hits him.
And you can read Johnson's lips right there. Dead ball, it hit him. Dead ball, it hit him. And that's exactly the call, is they're going to send Polanco, if they can find him,
He's
somewhere
getting a drink up in the clubhouse. He's figuring if you can't find me, you can't send me back.
There he is. He's throwing that helmet on. He's saying, I don't want to come out yet. Are we sure that's a call? And it is.
Well, this is what you talked about, Tom. This is how you define greatness in the postseason, if you can get into this type of a situation and get yourself back out of it. Because like you said, it was kind of a broken bat hit into right and then a slow roller. Here's the replay of Pujols getting bounced off the foot again. He's hurting right now, but he's saying, oh, it hit me, let me go to first. But this clearly is a swing. Made an attempt to try to hit that ball.
All right, one away. Runners at second and third. It's 3-0 St. Louis, and here comes Edmonds, who has struck out swinging twice against Johnson in 2 at-bats today.
You need a strikeout here, too, Tom. You need a strikeout right here from Edmonds.
Fastball up and in, 1-0.
Edmonds is the type of hitter, even though you've owned him so far today with the 2 strikeouts, if he hits the ball, generally he's got enough guts on it to get it to the outfield, to get a fly ball situation, sacrifice fly that tacks another run on.
Slider away, and a good eye by Edmonds. 2 balls and no strikes. Infield in, Polanco and Renteria aboard. And there's ball 3 inside to Edmonds. Well, after fanning Pujols, Johnson clearly with the odds in his favor against a left-handed batter, any left-handed batter, has gone 3-0 on Jim Edmonds. And there's ball 4. How about that?
I don't think he's that bothered by that because of the same situation where it loads up the bases. He is facing the back half of the order now. He's got Paquette. Certainly wants Paquette to bounce one of the shortstop, no question about that. That wasn't as bad a situation, considering if you load the bases, you give yourself a chance for a double play. It's a lot easier double play than having to play your infield in to try to get one. Get yourself a ground ball here, ends the inning.
Paquette has bounced into 11 double plays this season in 340 at-bats. They're loaded for the Cardinals, trying to break it wide open here in the 6th inning against Johnson. Swing and a miss on a slider, 0-1. Shows you what kind of confidence Johnson has in that slider. Bases juiced, first pitch slider.
That says as much about the confidence that he has to throw that pitch as it does of Damian Miller behind the plate and his ability to make sure that it doesn't get by him.
0-1 to Paquette. Fouled away, and Johnson ahead at 0-2.
Boy, it's amazing to think that we're in the 6th inning, and this is one of the very first times where Randy Johnson can go to work the way he goes to work, way ahead in the count, where he can use the weapons that he has. He has so many options now. He does have the ability to throw the fastball up in the strike zone at 98 miles an hour, such a tough pitch to lay off, and yet such a tough pitch to hit, or that hard and in slider down and in. Right now on this pitch, the worst thing that Johnson wants to do is really throw a strike.
0-2 to Paquette. Fouled back out of play. Came with a fastball at 97, and Paquette able to put the bat on it to foul it out of play.
And of course, by that, I don't mean that he doesn't want to get a strike. He just doesn't want to throw a pitch that would be considered a strike. Get someone chasing the ball now when you have an 0-2 count on it.
Bases loaded, one away. It's 0-2 to Craig Paquette, and Johnson looking into Miller for the sign. The pause in the pitch. Grounded, foul. Good. Polanco having to get out of the way.
Now, he got some muscle on that, but look at that swing. That's like, looked like he was hitting an 8-iron. I mean, he had to really cheat to get his bat down inside that ball. We talked about it before. Look at him golfing that pitch. It's the only way you can get the bat head to that pitch.
0-2 again. A slider way inside. Miller able to make sure he kept it in front of him. 1 ball and 2 strikes to Paquette. Game on the line here in the 6th inning. Polanco, Renteria, and Edmonds aboard with only 1 out. And the Cardinals looking to add to a 3-0 lead. Johnson thinking otherwise. 2 away.
Tommy, he took something off of that slider. Kind of threw a dead fish slider up there, not the ones he's been throwing before. Let's see the pitch by pitch. That's the first pitch slider. Tried it again, and Paquette fouled it off. Goes away with the fastball, and he fouls it off. Fastball in, now the slider that he misses with, and then watch him take something off of this one. Took a little bit off, Paquette out in front swinging, and that's dominating. That's the kind of pitching that Randy Johnson wants to do, and that he has not been able to find the location on that slider down and into the righties all day long.
All right, 2 away now. The base is still loaded, and here's Cairo, generally a very good contact hitter. Johnson struck him out in the 2nd. He lined out to center in the 4th. Popped up right side of the infield. They call him the big unit for a reason. And he stands tall in the 6th.
The Division Series on Fox, presented by Budweiser, with the crisp, clean, refreshing taste you'll find in no other beer. This Bud's for you.
A little electricity in the air for the first time really all day here in Phoenix. After Randy Johnson was able to pitch out of the 2nd and 3rd, nobody out, bases loaded, 1 out jam in the top of the inning. And the Diamondbacks send the top of the order to the plate against Woody Williams in the bottom of the inning. Tony Womack looks at a strike. Womack is struck out and grounded out to 2nd.
This is a huge at-bat for Tony. He has to be a leadoff hitter in this situation. Get himself on base somehow.
0-2 to Womack. Woody Williams has been terrific for the Cardinals through the first 5 innings. He's only allowed 2 hits. Fouled out of play. Williams has walked 1, struck out 8. His season high for strikeouts is 9. He's done it twice. His career high is 12. Still 0-2 to Womack.
Nice job there. Good piece of hitting just to hang in there, foul that pitch off. He's had such a great, sharp-breaking curveball with 2 strikes to these Arizona hitters.
Down the right field line, out of play. That's that 8-iron you were talking about from the left.
Exactly the same exact situation. I mean, you can't hit that pitch unless you try to golf it.
Breaking ball just off the corner. And of course, not perhaps, the most famous left-handed golfer in the world makes his home right here, Phil Mickelson.
Lefty himself.
Yes, indeed. Here's a 1-2. And a line drive caught by Williams. What a play by Woody Williams. That had base hit written all over it.
You got to be kidding me on a play like that. Watch the athletic ability and his positioning after he lets go of the ball. Perfect position to get his glove back on that. And the only thing that would have made that better if he charged it a little bit. How do you catch that ball? That had Chuck and Duck written all over it, and he catches it. Huge lift for himself. Talk about defensively, on the mound, and at the plate.
And now the trio, you saw those numbers for Williams again, starting with Finley, Gonzalez, and Sanders. He has handled them brilliantly through his career and here today. And now all of a sudden, apparently Tony La Russa saw something in that delivery by Woody Williams out on the mound.
And it might not even have been on the pitch. It may have been on the catch that he made. He might have overextended himself to make that catch off the bat of Womack.
Hey, Finley, get a base hit.
Barry Weinberg, the trainer of the Cardinals, out to talk with Woody Williams.
Take a look at the replay of that ball off of Tony Womack's bat. He was in great position as he caught it. Watch how he has to really extend himself to catch it. Might have been something in there. And then here's the last pitch he threw, which is a slider. You see the ball coming with that rotation with a little dot in the middle that guys talk about.
We'll keep an eye on Williams. 1-0 to Finley. Finley chased ball 2. Fouls it away. It's 1 ball and 1 strike.
We still don't know exactly what the problem was there. Obviously nothing too serious, or he wouldn't be out there anymore. But Tony La Russa told us earlier today about the athleticism of this guy and how he has an everyday player mentality, and he showed every bit of that today.
Well, he's done everything. I mean, he's pitched brilliantly, and that, of course, is his primary job. Fielded brilliantly. He has doubled and scored a run offensively. Closing in on the 100-pitch mark, and no activity in the Cardinal bullpen. 2-2 to Finley. Swing and a miss, and that's a new season matching high for Woody Williams, his 9th strikeout of the game.
Williams is pretty much into a pattern here. A lot of 2-strike breaking balls like that one right there. Finley will get out in front of this a little bit. Can't reach that ball down under. You see the release point of it. Once again, the dot in the middle of that ball. Some great camera work to really see exactly what that pitch is doing.
Woody Williams, 35 years old, a native of Houston, Texas. And he's ahead of Luis Gonzalez at 0-1. There was no better pitcher in the major leagues down the stretch than Woody Williams. In his last 6 games, he had an ERA of 0.94. And he is pitching just like the best pitcher in baseball here today. 0-2 on Gonzalez.
Once again, the one pitch that you might see to hit, that pitch right there, Gonzalez swung through it. And if the pattern keeps up that Williams has been doing, he's going to see a steady diet of breaking balls with 2 strikes now, and breaking balls in the dirt, trying to get the guys to chase.
Well, everybody talks so much about Schilling and Johnson for Arizona. I didn't hear anybody talking about Morris and Williams for the Cardinals. That duo's allowed 1 run in 2 starts. Morris allowing the 1 run in his 7 innings last night. And Williams shutting them out through 5 2/3 here today. That one down the right field line, but foul. And that was not a hard hit ball.
That ball got in on him a little bit. It was a little looping curveball, not the sharp breaker that we've seen from Williams.
I mean, the Diamondbacks have not hit a ball hard in the game. Not one ball. The base hit by Sanders was a little bleeder into short right center. And Bells was that pitch down and away that he just served into right field. And this one popped up, and it should in the inning. Edmonds coming on, Renteria calling off all comers, and that's that. 1, 2, 3 for Woody Williams in the 6th. 3-0 St. Louis. Don't forget, coming your way tomorrow, the playoffs continue. It'll be Game 2 from Safeco Field in Seattle. That one right here on Fox Family, beginning at 4 Eastern, 1 Pacific. And then tomorrow night on Fox, Game 2, Oakland and the Yankees from the Bronx, 8 Eastern, 5 Pacific. Randy Johnson takes the ball into the 7th inning, trailing 3-0, and it's strike 1 to Eli Marrero. Woody Williams working on a 2-hit shutout through the first 6 innings today.
Williams took a little trip into the clubhouse after that inning. He's back out there to grab a bat. Nobody down in the bullpen throwing for St. Louis, so he's headed back out.
To Marrero, and it's grounded foul up the third base line. Johnson has struck out 8. He's walked 2. He's only allowed 5 base hits, but 3 runs. A 2-run home run in the opening inning by Pujols. A double by Woody Williams in the 3rd. A Pena bunt got him to 3rd. A Polanco fly ball scored Williams in the 3rd.
Clearly, the 2-run shot by Pujols has been the big difference in this game. Randy Johnson has not had his best stuff, but he has not pitched a poor ball game. You talked about defining moments for a postseason career. That last inning, the 2nd and 3rd and nobody out, is the type of thing that defines some postseason greatness. He could use a little help from his offense.
1-2 to Marrero, and a fly ball right field. Reggie Sanders drifting back a little further in front of the wall, and he has room. One away. Well, the story today has not been Johnson, it's been Williams.
Well, doing it all. The great breaking ball. Swinging the bat. Are you kidding me? And then some great defense. Look out. Got a base hit and saved a base hit.
I mean, consider that Woody Williams has had 2 at-bats in this game, and both times has made better contact, hit the ball harder off Randy Johnson than the entire Diamondbacks lineup collectively have hit against him.
It's a good day. There's no way you would come into this game thinking that that would happen. Right now, just shutting down the Arizona bats at all. And as you mentioned, they're not even putting the ball in play with any authority.
Williams, a double to left center, is lined out to Sanders in right, and now has struck out as Miller will throw down to Grace. 2 away in the inning, 9 strikeouts for Randy Johnson.
And you know what I like about that too? You know, this is only the 2nd time that I've seen Williams pitch this year, and most pitchers, after striking out like that, they just stand at the plate, they go back to their bench. He strikes out, the ball's in the dirt, and he busts his rear end all the way down to first base, thinking that, hey, maybe the ball gets away. He's playing the game like a second baseman would play the game.
Now Pena. Pena 1 of 2, singled in the opening inning. A check swing and a slider in there, a strike. Put down a sacrifice, which got Williams to 3rd in front of the sac fly by Polanco in the 3rd. And then bounced out to Gray, sending the 5th. Oh, 1. And a cross up there, looked like.
Yeah, Miller got his hand turned around the wrong way. Boy, you can break your thumb if you don't catch the pitch the right way. If you get a little crossed up there, you take a Randy Johnson fastball off the inside of your thumb, you can snap the thing right off.
Ground ball, Womack charges, throws out Pena, and Johnson with a 1-2-3-7. Well, Johnson's gone 7 innings, allowed 5 hits and 3 runs. But Woody Williams shutting out Arizona on just 2 base hits. We'll keep it right here. The singing of God Bless America. And here's REO Speedwagon with that.
Ladies and gentlemen, for today's 7th inning stretch, Major League Baseball and the Arizona Diamondbacks invite you to rise. Show your pride in the United States of America. Sing with pride along with REO Speedwagon as they lead us all in the singing of God Bless America.
Division Series on Fox, presented by Budweiser. Budweiser, with the crisp, clean, refreshing taste you'll find in no other beer. This Bud's for you.
And for the bottom half of the 7th inning in our Nissan game summary, all St. Louis here today. The 2-run home run by Pujols in the opening inning. Williams with a double scored the 3rd Cardinal run in the 3rd inning. But Diamondbacks have scored 1 run in the first 15 innings against St. Louis pitching. Sanders, Grace, and Williams 2 up against Woody Williams. 0-1 to Reggie Sanders, who has one of the 2 Arizona hits in the game, a single back in the 4th inning.
If you're the Diamondbacks right now, in the middle of your order, this is where you got to make a run.
Williams has struck out 9. He has only walked 1 batter. With pinpoint control, just like that pitch right there, 1-2. Comebacks don't come easily against St. Louis, despite a sometimes shaky bullpen. And generally, their games have been decided before the 7th inning. Sanders pops it up. Playable for Renteria in short left. One away. In all but 7 out of 162 games the Cardinals played this year, the team that led at the end of 6 innings won the game. Wow. The Cardinals had the fewest losses of any team in the major leagues when leading at the end of the 6th inning. Only 4 games did they lose out of 162. Of course, they didn't lead at the end of 6 in every one of those games. Pretty impressive, though. The flip side of that is they had the fewest wins of any team when trailing after 6 innings in the major league.
Well, that point in the game is when Tony La Russa really starts managing, flip-flopping you back and forth with his pitching staff.
Grace fades one out of play, 3rd base side.
Well, Gracie has broken out the Billy Barule, as he calls it, the old line from Caddyshack. Look at that bat. That bat has got about an extra pound of pine tar on it. He was showing it to us the other day. He said in certain situations. I used this as my gamer for about 5 weeks. I retired it for a while. Now he's gone back to it in this at-bat. I'm telling you, there's an extra 4 or 5 ounces worth of pine tar all over that bat. Gracie, of course, doesn't use any batting gloves.
The bat looks a little bigger than a bat he normally would use, though. Steve, done it to you? He's choking up on it.
Choking up a little bit, but look at all the pine tar on that thing.
Again, fouled out of play, third base side.
There's a good look at all the extra pine tar. I mean, he's running that stuff all the way up here. It's all down in here. It's very thick. It's not like just a quick little coating of pine tar. I mean, it's about a 1/4 of an inch thick on top of the bat.
1-2 from Williams, and a breaking ball too low. 2-2 to Grace.
You can swing any bat with those numbers. I'll tell you, he was over there talking to Bob Melvin, saying the old Caddyshack line, grabbing the bat and talking to it. Billy, Billy, Billy. Oh, Billy. Said I might have to go to it every now and then during this series.
2-2 to Grace. Foul out of play. You didn't do that Sylvester Stallone impersonation all that well, but that was an outstanding effort of Bill Murray. I mean, that was, no, that was Ted Knight, pardon me.
If you thought I was doing Bill Murray right there, I'm really messed up.
Shows you what I know. The late, great Ted Knight.
Absolutely.
Back up the middle into center field. So Billy.
The Billy Barul comes through, right through the wickets. Now you look at Mark Grace and you wonder why he had more hits than anybody in the 90s. Such a smooth swing, trying to go the other way this entire at-bat, just taking whatever Williams would give him. He stayed away from him. Little slider spin there, caught the back half of the plate, and Gracie says, I'm going to shoot that thing right back at you. Watch the balance of Grace. It's out in front just a little bit, reaches for it, and throws it right back up the middle, and we're off to the races.
Now Matt Williams, 1 on, 1 out here in the 7th. Breaking ball is high. That is the 117th pitch thrown in the game by Woody Williams, and a few bodies beginning to stir, although no one getting loose yet down in that Cardinal bullpen, but the pitches piling up. And now it looked like Dave Aveers down there was starting to walk towards the mound anyway.
Matt Williams could do himself proud here to come up with a big hit.
Not going to hit that pitch.
Struggled at the plate so far through this series. Had the error earlier in the ball game.
There you get a look. That was the 118th pitch delivered by Williams, as indeed it is Beers getting loose in the bullpen. We saw him here for 2 outs in the game last night. 1-1 to Williams, and he popped it up into short right center field. Paquette is there, 2 away in the inning.
You talk about how many pitches that Williams has thrown now in this at-bat to Matt Williams. I'm not so sure he throws a strike. That ball's up. This pitch out of the strike zone, Williams swings at. That pitch up. May have been 3 straight balls. The ball generally will go higher in the strike zone once a pitcher gets tired. Can't find his release point as well, starts letting go of the ball a little earlier than he'd like to, and the pitch runs up in the strike zone.
2 down, Grace at first, and here's Jay Bell. Pitch away, ball 1. We told you coming into this game, Jay Bell had 4 career home runs against Woody Williams. He's 1 for 2 in the game. Williams struck him out in the 2nd. Bell singled to right in the 5th. Quick throw down to first, and what a play by Pujols, preventing that ball from going down to the right field corner.
Whoa. You know, I like it when guys try things, but I'm not sure this is the right time in the game to be doing that type of stuff. This ball almost goes down the line. Gracie was back in plenty of time. They do a great job over there with instructions at first base, and Gracie had no problem getting back. He's not going anywhere.
Fastball, a called strike, and Bell hangs his head again with the call by John Hirschbeck. But Hirschbeck has been consistent. Williams keeps living off the outside corner.
And it's like you said, Bell has a few home runs and he can pop the ball out of the yard, and this is the specific time in the game, this late in the ball game, where Bell's looking for something on the inside half of the plate that he can cheat, like we talked about before, cheat out there a little bit and try to pull this thing in the left field seats. Got to get something on the inside half, though.
3-1 now on Jay Bell. Breaking ball is a strike call.
A lot of guts for Williams right there once again in a 3-1 count to throw a breaking ball to Bell. Not just going to lay one in there and let him hammer.
Swinging a foul ball back out of play. Cardinals have made a couple of changes, by the way, defensively here in this inning. They brought in J.D. Drew to play right field. Craig Paquette taking over in left field. 3-2 on Jay Bell. Brace again gets started. And a swing and a foul ball back to the screen. The Diamondbacks trying to get the potential tying run to the plate. Down 3-0, batting in the 7th inning.
See a couple of adjustments that Williams has made as the game has gone on, throwing a lot of two-strike breaking balls earlier in the game and through the 6th inning. Now, last couple of hitters with 2 strikes trying to throw the fastball by hitters.
And it's in the air and playable down the first base line. Drew coming on. Vina waves him off, and that's that. What an outing through 7 by Woody Williams. Shutting out Arizona on 3 hits and leading by 3. Well, Randy Johnson will get the ball here in the 8th inning, Steve Lyons, and a lot of people, of course, saying that Randy Johnson is not a postseason pitcher. It's hard to win games when your team doesn't score runs. He's only given up 5 base hits.
And I also think he's proven today that without his great stuff, he has battled his tail off and still pitched an outstanding ball game.
Woody Williams has been better, and certainly for the Cardinals, I mean, they still have to get 6 more outs. But being down 1 game to none, coming into this 2nd game, knowing Randy Johnson was on the mound, they have to feel very good about where they are right now.
There's no quitting this team, and as Tony told us earlier in the day, he said this team has come through and won these type of ball games all year long for us.
2-0 to Polanco, and there's a strike call on the outside corner. Polanco's had a solid game. You said last night you thought that the top 2 batters in the Cardinal batting order could be a key part of this series, and that they have been today. You may look in the box score and see that Vina's only 1 for 3. But he did put down a sacrifice, which advanced Williams to 3rd. That was back into 3rd. And Polanco is 1 of 2. And he knocked in Williams after the sacrifice by Vina.
Big home run by Pujols. That's the difference in the game.
Johnson, strangely enough, has thrown far fewer pitches than Woody Williams in the game. Foul back out of play. That's generally never the MO, and Randy Johnson is pitching against anyone.
Anytime you have a guy that's going to get a lot of strikeouts, he ends up throwing a lot of pitches in order to do that. Number one. We have a guy who averages better than 10 strikeouts a game. You got to throw at least 3 strikes to get him out. A lot of pitchers are up there hoping he'll hit a ground ball on the first pitch. Be conservative. That's never Randy Johnson.
2-2. Back up the middle, and a diving play by Bell, but he'll never throw out Polanco. An infield hit. Second hit of the game at 3 at-bats for Polanco.
Well, Polanco staying with his game plan, trying to go up the middle and the other way like he usually does. Cutter from Johnson, right back up the middle. Johnson tries to olay that ball from behind his back. Bell makes the stop, but smartly puts it in his back pocket.
Let's see if Polanco will be on the move. Renteria the batter. Johnson a check of Polanco, a long look, and he'll throw over there. Activity as Grace picks that one out of the dirt. In both bullpens for Arizona, veterans Mike Morgan and Greg Swindell. Swindell, the southpaw, getting loose. And a bit of a surprise for Tony La Russa. Dustin Hermanson, a starter all year long. But of course, Hermanson, a one-time closer during his days in Montreal.
Tony's going to use that entire 25-man roster, and certainly in the playoffs, you don't need 5 starters. You put guys in different roles. You put Hermanson out in the pen. We've already talked about the fact with all the lefties in the lineup for the Arizona Diamondbacks that he may move Steve Klein to be his closer in this series rather than a setup guy. Dave Veers leads the team in saves with 15. But they've kind of done that by committee most of the season as well.
You got to wonder if Woody Williams' game or day is over.
A lot of pitches. Up around 120 now.
It's up closer to now 130.
127 pitches. Snuck a few by me there. Johnson now at 109.
Each starter with 9 strikeouts in the game. 1-1. Runner goes, and it's fouled back out of play by Renteria. So Tony La Russa trying to generate at least another run against Randy Johnson. Leading 3-0 and batting here in the 8th inning, trying to tie this series at a game apiece.
This is the same situation that the Diamondbacks were in last night's ball game. When you're ahead, you can afford to be more aggressive. Randy Johnson does not have a great move to first base, and the more he shows it to you over there, the better opportunity you have to see it and steal a base.
Well, over the last 2 years, more runners have tried to steal against Randy Johnson than any pitcher in the major league. More have been successful than anybody else. More have been thrown out than against anybody else. Because so many attempt to run. Two and two to Renteria.
Today is a good day to be aggressive, because he does not have the great command, so it's a lot tougher on Damian Miller to make a throw. If he throws that hard and in slider down and into a righty and he gets it in the dirt, much tougher play for Miller to come up throwing, and you can generally get a pretty good jump on Randy, but Randy makes up the difference with how hard he throws.
2-2, and again a throw over, sending Polanco back to the bag. Earlier today, Atlanta shut out Houston. Tom Glavine and John Smoltz combined on the shutout. 1-0 Braves. So Atlanta will go back to Turner Field, leading 2-0. Ground ball to Womack. They go to second for 1. Can they turn it? Yes. Double play. Tony La Russa not starting Polanco on the 2-2 pitch that time. And it cost him.
Made the difference here. Would have been a much tougher play at second base, but Polanco still does a great job. Watch Jay Bell again hang in there. He knows he's going to get hammered. Stays right there. His only protection is the baseball and the bag. You see him stay behind the bag. He knows Polanco has to go through that. Polanco throws the elbow up into the groin area of Bell. He knows right now, I'm going to take a hit. And he delivers a perfect throw on to first base for the double play. That's all about being a second baseman.
Pujols first pitch swinging, fly ball into straightaway center field, and that is it. Randy Johnson goes 8 innings. His day is over. He's due up second when the Diamondbacks bat in the 8th inning.
The Division Series on Fox, presented by Budweiser, is brought to you by Volkswagen. On the road of life, there are passengers and there are drivers. By Charles Schwab, expert advice that's objective, uncomplicated, and not driven by commission. And by KFC. There's fast food, then there's KFC.
Go to the 8th inning. Is this a dirty play by Polanco, that forearm?
Well, you see the forearm come up, but that's more about protecting his own head than it is about going after Jay Bell. You make the good hard slide, then you throw that forearm up to protect your own nose. Watch out, don't let that leg hit you in the face. And wherever that forearm goes, you don't really care. Pretty sure Jay Bell's wearing a cup down there. As I can tell you, 9 years out of the game, I put my cup on when I watch a game still. I can tell you that. You get a little nervous.
Bottom half of the 8th inning. They're a little nervous here in the seats in Phoenix. 3-0 St. Louis in front. Craig Counsell to pinch hit for Damian Miller, and Woody Williams delivers his 128th pitch. Strike one. Williams has been spectacular here today. Curt Schilling had a complete game 3 hit shutout last night. Schilling struck out 9. Williams through 7 innings, a 3-hit shutout, has struck out 9.
We said when this series started that the boys would ride their horses, and that's what they've been doing. The starting pitching of both of these staffs are the aces of the pitching staff. You don't want to get too deep into either pen.
Counsell takes low, 2 balls and a strike. David DeLucci stands in the on-deck circle. He would bat for Randy Johnson. Then back to the top of the order in Tony Womack. Counsell got the start here last night. It has been an unbelievable Arizona bench this season, swinging a foul ball back. They set a major league record with 14 pinch hit home runs. And they have got some serious thunder off that bench.
That's unbelievable, because pinch hitting is by far the worst job in baseball. Sit around for 8 innings doing nothing, and then you got to get ready to go up and hit.
Counsell swings and fouled it out of play. It should be noted that the Giants also tied that record with 14 pinch hit home runs, but look at the numbers. Number 1 in batting average, tied with the Giants for pinch hit home runs. Number 1 in runs batted in.
Craig Counsell reminds you of a young Carl Yastrzemski when he first broke into the league, with his hands way up over his head like that.
A little flare into right field. A pinch hit single by Counsell. And that begins the Arizona 8th inning. Tony La Russa has double barrel action down in the bullpen. He's talking things over with Dave Duncan, the left-hander Klein, the right-hander Hermanson. And here comes the left-handed batting, David DeLucci.
Tommy, we probably say this once a game, but I'll say it again because I really think it matters. Good hitters get jammed. Do not be afraid to get jammed as a hitter. Stick with your swing. Look at him go right through his swing. That ball's in on his hands. He gets it in off the fist, but it's still a good swing. He's got his head down on it, pulls his hands through there to try to get a good part of the bat on it. That ball running in on the hands of Counsell, but you still get a base hit. And I'll tell you what, Counsell's dad's probably watching the game, but if he isn't and he picks up the paper tomorrow morning, he thinks his son roped a ball into right field. They all count.
Well, Tony La Russa sending the catcher Eli Marrero out for a visit, and now here comes Dave Duncan. Well, you have the left-handed batting DeLucci, who's been announced. You have the left-handed batting Womack, left-handed batting Finley, left-handed batting Gonzalez, all coming up. So you figure the left-hander Klein is coming on. That's exactly the deal. We'll be back.
I'm Jeannie Velasco at the Fox Network Center with this game break, and with a heavy heart, the city of New York welcomes 2 heavy hitters in a pretty heavy-hitting ball game tonight on the Fox Network. Oakland at the Yankees. You can follow the tourney exclusively on the Fox Networks. Tom?
Jeannie, thank you very much. A spectacular day today for Woody Williams. He allows a base hit So Craig Counsell leading off the bottom of the 8th inning. He has shut out Arizona on just 4 hits today. And now he will give way to the busiest member of the Cardinal bullpen, who has had a sensational year. Second best ERA among all relievers in the National League, Steve Kline.
Look at that. 89 games. Kline is clearly a left-hander. Great guy to talk to. A little bit whacked out. Says his goal is to pitch in 162 games. Mad when they don't put him in.
Well, now Arizona trying to answer with the left-hander being brought into the game. David DeLucci was announced as the pinch hitter. He'll be taken down for one of the best pinch hitters in the major leagues for the last 7-8 years, Greg Colburn. 4 of 8 in his career against Kline with a home run.
And that was the little cat and mouse game that we're going to see for the rest of the time between these two managers. Dave Duncan didn't even come out to the mound to make sure that DeLucci did get announced so that they'd have to hit for him. He wanted to make sure that he didn't make the move before they put their pinch hitter in. Now DeLucci out of the game without really making an appearance.
And there's a base hit into right field. Counsell will stop, and a tying run will come to the plate for Arizona in the 8th inning. We told you this Diamondback bench has been downright unbelievable this season.
Maybe that Diamondback bench should start. They haven't scored any runs as the starters, but that is a great piece of hitting by Colburn. When you're a pinch hitter, a lot of times you're only going to see one good pitch to hit. You better be ready to hack, and don't try to do too much with it. Look at, he just takes that pitch on the outside part of the plate, shoots it into right field. That is a great piece of hitting.
Well, now they're going to have Tony Womack, a left-handed batter, face Kline. The Cardinals are thinking Womack's going to try and bunt to try to get a couple of runners in scoring position. Bear in mind, we're in the 8th inning.
Polanco's bearing down on him at third.
He shows bunt at the last second and takes outside ball 1.
Yeah, Tommy, if he is bunting, I really disagree with the way he's going about it there. If you're bunting, you have to square around, get the job done, and move the runners up. He may not be bunting. He may be just messing around up there, getting guys to think that he is going to bunt, and then he's going to take a little shot at hitting one past Polanco at third.
And he does bunt. Kline spins, throws, and a strike thrown to Pujols. What a play that was by Kline to get the speedy Womack, give him the sacrifice. You got to believe Finley's going to be pinch hit for now. As you look at the bunt.
Much better job of Womack getting out there a little bit quicker, getting the bunt down. The only mistake for Womack, it took that huge high bounce. If that ball stayed on the ground, he might have been able to beat that thing out. You see Polanco coming, you see Kline coming. They're all crashing in on the bunt. Womack flying down the line.
Now, some may be saying, who have not seen Arizona play much this season, Steve Finley just had 3 hits in the game last night. And you're going to pinch hit for him in the 8th inning today? There are a lot of people that feel Danny Bautista should be in the everyday lineup, not necessarily in place of Finley. But this is something that Bob Brenly has done all year long.
I talked to Mark Grace yesterday, and he said, watch Danny Bautista while he takes batting practice. He said the ball explodes off of this kid's bat.
Bautista 0 for 3 against Kline in his career. Kline will stay in to face Danny Bautista. Fastball away. Well, there's a guy in the on-deck circle that Bob Brenly will not pinch hit for. And that's Gonzalez.
No. Look at Kline. Kline's hat's got as much pine tar on it as Grace's bat.
That one fouled out of play. 1 ball and 1 strike to Bautista as a pinch hitter this season, a .350 batter. They're going to look at that hat.
Klein's just one of those old school guys. You know, this is the big leagues. They'll give him a new hat if he wants one. He doesn't want one. I'm wearing this one till it falls off my head. There might be some stuff growing on the underside of that bill.
1-1 to Bautista. Low and away, 2 balls and a strike. Back-to-back singles to begin the Arizona 8th inning. Womack puts down a sacrifice there at second, third with 1 out.
This is the pitcher looking to drive as a hitter.
3-1. All of a sudden, that strike zone that Hirschbeck gave to Woody Williams squeezed a little tighter here in the 8th.
If Klein hasn't established himself, and you see Marrero setting up outside and then has to reach for it, you ain't getting it.
3-1. Three and 2. Bautista may have gone after ball 4.
Yes, he did, but I'll tell you, as we talked about before, it's tough to ask a pinch hitter to go up there and not be aggressive. I think that ball was ball 4, but 3-1, you're looking to hack, that's for sure.
This joint rocking now. Bautista the tying run in the bottom of the 8th. On the ground, bobbled at third. Polanco throws in time. Big play by Polanco. A run scores, making it 3-1. And now Gonzalez coming up.
But Dave Duncan to come out to talk to how they're going to approach Gonzalez. We talked about it before. The book on Gonzalez is to try to get in on his hands. But if you miss in there, he can do some damage. A lot of the lefties try to go away from Gonzo. Try to get the big sweeping breaking ball. Try to drop down a little bit on the fastball and get him to chase balls away.
Well, we asked Luis Gonzalez. He knew coming into this series that he would have to go toe-to-toe with Steve Klein many, many times. Here's what he expects from the Cardinal left-hander.
The lefty situation, what you have to try to do with him is try to see the ball up, because he'll get you to try to chase balls in the dirt. It's easier said than done a lot of times, but you just have to try to be patient with him and look for something in one zone. If you get it, you take a whack at it.
And you notice that Gonzo wasn't talking about pitch selection. He was talking about pitch location. He doesn't care what pitch it is, as long as he can get it in the location that he wants to hit. And he was talking up in the strike zone from the lefty.
Gonzalez, 57 home runs during the regular season. He is the tying run with 2 down in the bottom of the 8th inning. Check swing and a miss. A nasty breaking ball from Klein there.
I don't think they want to mess with Gonzalez on the inside half like the righties do on this team. I think they want to force him to hit the ball to left field and maybe come up and in off the plate if they do it.
Steve Klein, if you're wondering, did not allow a home run to a left-handed batter all season. Not one. In fact, he only allowed 3 home runs all year long. In the dirt, 2 balls and a strike.
With 2 outs, you're going to see the outfielders of the Cardinals playing fairly deep. Way back here, way back there. No doubles in this situation. A base hit's going to score the run, but it doesn't tie the score. A ball knocked off the wall puts another guy in scoring position. You definitely don't want that guy on third, and you want to try to protect yourself from any doubles in the gaps.
2-1 on Gonzalez. He thought about it. Another breaking ball. Again away as you thought they'd stay there. 3-1. You still have the bullpen, a right-hander ready. Sanders on deck.
I know it puts the go-ahead run at the plate if you walk Gonzalez, but I don't think he cares if he walks him. He's still going to make him hit his pitch, and I think it's going to be away.
He set up away. Grounded down to first, and Pujols has got it, and the inning is over. Superb work by Klein. We go to the ninth, 3-1 St. Louis.
The Division Series on Fox, presented by Budweiser, with the crisp, clean, refreshing taste you'll find in no other beer. This Bud's for you.
Well, we head for the top of the ninth inning. 3-1. The Cardinals in front, trying to send this series back to Busch Stadium at a game apiece, and now on the pitch just turned 42 years old 2 days ago, Mike Morgan. Morgan has done a solid job for this Diamondback team this season. A number of other changes. Danny Bautista stays in the game to play center field. Craig Counsell stays in to play second base. And now the rookie catcher Rod Barajas takes over for Damian Miller behind the plate.
Morgan's one of those guys that should have been a lefty. He borrowed Steve Klein's hat, I think, to pitch, and I think he goes fishing in this hat. Morgan in there because he's a ground ball pitcher, heavy sinker he likes to throw up there. His hat's as old as he is.
And that's old.
That is old.
And Mike will be the first to tell you that. Jim Edmonds shows bunt and takes outside, ball one.
Doing this stuff for a long time. Two and 0 to Edmonds.
So Randy Johnson goes 8 innings, allows 6 base hits. And 3 runs all earned. He struck out 9, walked 2, but right now on the short end of a 3-1 game. Woody Williams, his final line, 7 innings, 4 hits, charged with a run. Strikes out 9, which matches a season high, and walks 1 back. Three and 1 on Edmonds.
Edmonds on this 3-1 pitch has got to be real careful not to lift and separate, not to pull out of there. With Morgan, with the ground ball pitch, he's going to try to sink the ball away from him a little bit. Edmonds has got to try to power this ball into the left center field gap.
And there's ball 4 to start the inning. Activity in the Arizona bullpen. Should Morgan run into trouble, and he's walked the first batter in the inning, Miguel Batista, who will start game 3 on Friday night at Busch Stadium throwing. He's a right-hander, and the left-hander is Greg Swindell.
Batista probably will only be available for maybe 1 hitter. Doesn't want to burn him out when he's going to have to come back and start again.
Of course, Bob Brimley has the leeway, if you will, as would Tony La Russa. Say if he wanted to, bring in, it's not going to happen with Darryl Kyle. He's not pitched out of the bullpen, but in the postseason, you have the flexibility of deciding, okay, if I have to use Batista today, Albie Lopez could get the ball in game 3.
Push Batista back a day, bring him back for game 4.
Mike Morgan walked out of his graduating class, Valley High in Las Vegas, in 1978. A week later, he was making his major league debut. Never went to the minor league. 1978. Got beat 3-0, wearing an Oakland A's uniform, falling to the Baltimore Orioles.
Shoot, he played like 4 years before he was able to go get a beer after the game.
Swinging a foul ball back. That's exactly right. Although back in those days, the drinking age was 18.
Depending on which state you were in.
That's right. But every season since 1978, with the exception of 1980 and 1981, Mike Morgan has pitched in the major leagues. The 70s, the 80s, the 90s, and now 2000, 2001. 0-2 to Paquette. Ground ball off of Morgan. He can't find it, and Paquette is safe. So he got the ground ball that he wanted. It looked like it was headed right for Womack. But Morgan took a stab at it, and now the Cardinals in business with 2 on and nobody out.
I'm not so sure that ball didn't hit him off his pitching hand either. It sounded like it got him on the opposite hand of his glove. He's reaching back. It sure did hit him right on the palm of the hand. I played with one of the best shortstops in the game, Ozzie Guillen, and he used to tell our pitchers, especially in a ground ball double play situation, don't try to catch the ball. That's what my job is. The guy hits the ball back up the middle. One of us will get it because playing in double play depth, we're a little closer to second base. Let that ball go through. And the reason Ozzie would say that is exactly for that situation right there.
Well, Morgan going to have to leave the game. They're going to bring on left-hander Greg Swindell. We'll be back. Game 2 of this division series between the St. Louis Cardinals and the Arizona Diamondbacks. The Cardinals down by a game, getting shut out by Randy Johnson, but they've gotten fabulous pitching from Woody Williams and Steve Klein here today. Lead 3-1 in the 9th inning, 2 on, nobody out. And Greg Swindell on the pitch.
Swindell, another one of those guys that's been around a long time. You look at the numbers that he's put up in the regular season. A little over 50 innings pitched. One of those left-handed specialist guys.
J.D. Drew, a comebacker to Swindell. He'll go to second. They get the out there. Well, a very odd decision there by Swindell, wasn't it, Steve? It looked like he had a shot, from here anyway, at third.
Yeah, I think his most natural reaction was to go over to second base because he had to run so far to get the ball. Third base is kind of an odd place to have to try to throw the ball unless it's a quick comebacker to you. See how far he has to run to the ball here. And this is also direction from Barajas, too. Maybe yelling at him, saying, go 2 with it. Williams going back to his position there. I think it would have been a tough play at third.
Now Barajas is going to come out and visit with Swindell before Eli Marrero comes to the plate. You have the pitcher spot due up next.
Either way there, you pick up the out at second, you keep the force play and double play in order. But you do have the guy on third base instead of first and second.
Well, now Bob Brenly going to come out. And we'll see what he decides to do. He has his Game 3 scheduled starter, who has bounced back and forth from the bullpen to the rotation all year long. Miguel Batista ready in the bullpen. You got to wonder if this doesn't change for Bob Brenly, who told us before the game that Batista was available last night. He didn't want to use him here today. Whether that changes Batista's prospects for starting Friday night. We know he's coming in right now.
Tommy, let's go back to that play that Greg Swindell made and look at it from a different angle to see if whether or not he could have thrown Edmonds out at third. Remember, left-handed, the natural throw is right there. Look where Edmonds is. He's not even halfway. Williams is going over. He's covering his bag easily. Now he picks it up, fires to second where it was a pretty close play.
Yeah, and I think Bob Brenly was really upset about that decision by Swindell when he walked to the mound. That's a big run standing down there at third base with only 1 away in the inning.
Now, clearly, you still have a double play situation set up second to first, but now a sacrifice fly scores you a run where it wouldn't. Score a lot more ways from third base than you can from second, and sometimes without the benefit of a hit.
Well, Miguel Batista, and they've done this with him all year long. For those of you that have not seen the Diamondbacks play much, Batista in and out of the rotation depending on whether the starters would be working on 4 days rest, 5 days rest, 3 days rest. And in games when they haven't started him, Batista has been used out of the bullpen, and he's been as good as the Diamondbacks could have ever hoped for. Kerry Robinson will be brought on to pinch hit for Eli Marrero, which means Matheny will take over behind the plate. Robinson would be a very difficult man to try and double up. He can fly. 0-1.
And if you're thinking trickery at all, Kerry Robinson, who has a leadoff mentality and eventually will probably be in a leadoff spot, has the ability to drop down a bunt as well.
Jose Akendo going through the signs with Robinson. Played very well for the Cardinals when given the chance this season. Batista going to send Drew back to the bag.
I think Batista threw over to first base right there for one reason only, to see if Robinson might tip his hands as far as any kind of squeeze play.
Robinson, a St. Louis kid. He went to Hazelwood East High School. And they pitch out, wanting to see if anything's on there. A 3-1 St. Louis lead here in the top half of the 9th inning. Runners on the corners and only one out, and now Robinson steps out of the box. Robinson, in 186 at-bats this season, has only bounced into one double play all year. That's it. I mean, he can run. 1-1. Fastball away. Edmonds came charging down that line. Thought momentarily there may have been a squeeze play on.
Edmonds is doing everything he can to try to disrupt Batista over there. We've seen him throw over to first base again. Watch Edmonds come barreling down there just to shake things up a little bit. Edmonds knows that Batista can not only see him but feel him over there.
2-1. And it's too low. 3 balls and a strike.
It's Robinson's speed. Catch 22 for the Diamondbacks is that you want him to hit it hard, you want him to hit it right at one of the infielders in order to double him up.
Right back to Batista. He'll look to the plate. Throw to first. Here comes Edmonds. Safe at first, safe at home. Everything that could have gone right on the play for the Cardinals did go right. Everything that could have gone wrong for Arizona did go wrong.
Well, there's just bad fundamentals. This is a comebacker, and this is the one play where you can't double up Robinson. You got to go 2 and then back to first base for the double play. If not that, at the very least, you cut off the run at home. You've got Edmonds out here in Nowheresville right now. He knows he's dead. And now he's like, wait a minute, you're going to give me a gift and I can score? Big mental mistake. Batista had no idea where to go on that. And I'll tell you, Grace, thinking about trying to come home after he made the play there, almost cheated off that bag enough to not get an out call. You don't get the out call at first base.
What a huge play that was. Edmonds, as you mentioned, hung out to dry between third and home.
Gracie has to come off the bag to make that play.
And now Klein is able, with a 3-run lead, to stay in the game.
You can see Grace right in the middle right there saying, wait a minute, I'm not sure if you're going to get him at first. And if I can come and get the ball and get it back to the plate, I might have a chance to get the runner at the plate. Just a bad play all around.
That makes it a 3-run spread in favor of the Cardinals, and Klein is able to stay in the game and back. And that one bunted back to Batista. He'll go to first, gets the out there, give Klein the sacrifice.
Second baseman,
Runners at second and third, 2 away here in the Cardinal 9th inning. And it really turns out to be not only the play to score a run, but if you're Tony La Russa, you're like, whew, I get to keep Klein in the game. I mean, you get that 1 out for the second out of the inning on the comebacker to Batista. And La Russa might have to wrestle with taking Klein out. Bear in mind, all the Diamondbacks thunder off their bench is from the left side. That one fouled off the foot of Vina. I mean, all the guys they have on that bench that can hit the ball out of the ballpark, most notably a Rubiel Durazo. Left-handed batters, and now Klein gets to stay in.
We said because of those lefties, he'd love to use Klein as his closer. He's going to get to. Because of the rally in the 8th, he was forced to bring Klein in, I think maybe earlier than he wanted to. Now he gets to run him back out there to shut this game down, which is the position that he wanted him to be in.
Runners at second and third, 2 away, and the 0-1 on Fernando Vina. In the dirt, 1 ball and 1 strike.
Let's take a look at that play one more time by Bautista. Look at the indecision. This ball's a comebacker. This could be a double play. Could have done it. Looks at first, then looks back to Edmonds. Doesn't know. It looks right at Edmonds. Got him dead, and then tries to go to first base. Pulls Gracie off the bag. Everybody's safe.
But Steve, isn't the right play they teach you on that play? I mean, if the guy at third base, you got to get the runner, don't you? I mean, they can talk about double plays all they want. Robinson, I still think they have a hard time turning that double play with Robinson running. If there's a guy right in front of you that's going to score a run, isn't that the guy you got to go after?
Yes, especially when you're down in the game. When it's a 3-1 game, you're taught to at least look at that guy to see that you technically look him back. But if he's out in the middle of nowhere there, then you have to take that out. You'll sacrifice the 2 outs that you could possibly get, and as you said, Robinson can fly to get Edmonds right there, who's stuck. And a lot of times, they're even, even La Russa will say, go ahead and go. Force them to get you out so we stay out of the double play situation, and we still have a chance to score another run.
1-2 to Vina. Down and in, 2 balls and 2 strikes. Well, Bautista trying to get out of this 9th inning. It'll be Reggie Sanders, Mark Grace, and Matt Williams due up for Arizona in the bottom of the 9th. Bautista, the Game 3 scheduled starter. He's thrown 11 pitches since coming on from the bullpen here in Game 2. Line into center field. Bautista's got it, and the inning is over. A big run for the Cardinals. Arizona will back. Bottom of the 9th inning, down 3. Terry Robinson remains in the game to play left field for St. Louis as we head for the bottom half of the 9th inning. Mike Matheny taking over behind the plate for Eli Marrero. 4-1 Cardinals in front. Reggie Sanders to lead it off. First pitch swinging down to Polanco. 1 pitch and 1 out for Klein here in the 9th inning.
You mentioned the 14 pinch hit home runs off the bench for the Diamondbacks this year. Keep in mind that the 2 guys that they do have left to come off the bench, both left-handed hitters. Durazo and Cummings probably not going to make an appearance against Klein.
What a huge victory this would be for the St. Louis Cardinals. After getting shut out last night by Curt Schilling, 1-0, knowing that Randy Johnson was on the mound for Arizona today. And Tony La Russa told us, Steve, this is the kind of game this team has won all year. Grace, a little flare in a short center field. That ball, diving play made by Edmonds. What an effort by Edmonds in shallow center field.
This is what defines Edmonds as a center fielder, how far he has to run for this ball. Look at how far back he's playing when this ball goes in the air. Look at the unbelievable effort right there. And I think we should watch here is watch how he lands on his hands. For the young kids out there that are outfielders, land on your hands after you catch the ball. If you land on your elbow, you hit that nerve in there that makes your hands open up. You'll see a lot of guys drop the ball come back out of their glove when they land on their elbow. You catch the ball, land on your hands like Edmonds did.
Now Matt Williams with 2 down and nobody on. A little roller off the end of the bat down to Pujols. He picks it up in fair ground, and that's out. Klein saves it for Woody Williams, who was spectacular here today.
we have seen 2 outstanding pitching performances from the Cardinals come into this place. When you talked about Schilling and Johnson, Morris pitched great and got the loss. Williams pitched great and gets the win, and they get to go home 1 apiece.
Our game produced by Jeff Gowan, directed by Jim Lynch. Our associate director is Derek Manning, and our broadcast associate Kevin Dresser. Our technical producer is Craig Marlowe. The studio produced by Gary Lang, directed by Bob Levy. The senior producer of Fox Sports is Bill Brown, and the executive producers of Fox Sports are Ed Gorin and David Hill. The coordinating producer of Major League Baseball on Fox is Michael Weissman. Don't forget, coming up later tonight, AL Division Series Game 1, Mark Mulder against Roger Clemens from the Bronx. That'll be brought to you by the New York Stock Exchange. So a series is on between the Diamondbacks and the Cardinals. They beat Johnson in Game 2, 1 game apiece, and Friday night